You got college football kind of coming down to the wire, NFL. So I love November. Thanksgiving's in there, and then, of course, March is March Madness. But you mentioned it today in about 55 minutes. Major League Baseball playoffs get going, and this is just something that you give me daytime baseball when it's meaningful.
Sure.
When every pitch means something, I'm all in, and so I come out of my slumber. I start looking around. Ooh, how about that? Did you know that so-and-so's in the playoffs? Are you aware of this player?
Yeah.
You know, and this is where I start to really love Major League Baseball this time of year.
Yeah, and the games mean something. Like you said, wild card series start today, and you're setting the table for the divisional series and championship series and all that kind of stuff. And baseball's such a funny sport because, like, for college football, yes, we focus on our individual team, but you have the opportunity to watch everybody over the course of a given weekend. You know a lot about just about all the major players in college football over a given weekend. Same thing with the NFL, but baseball is such a singular team-focused sport because typically when the Braves are playing, well, guess what? Everybody else is playing too. So unless you do have the, MLB TV package where you can bounce around and watch a lot of games, you're primarily watching your team. But when October comes around, especially if your team's not in it, you finally get to see a lot more of these other teams that you maybe otherwise wouldn't get to see outside of Sunday Night Baseball or Wednesday Night Baseball or some of the national games they have on TBS and Apple TV and stuff like that. So this is your opportunity to really immerse yourself into teams that you don't know everything about and see who's going to come out on top at the end of October or early November if it goes that far.
Yeah, you talk about Detroit and Cleveland. For those of you that really haven't been paying attention, they're the Guardians. They've been the Guardians for a while, but it's okay if you want to still call them the Indians. The Tigers and the Indians will get things going here in about 53 minutes and kick off the 2025 Major League Baseball playoffs. San Diego and Jen's Cubs get going at 3 p.m. today on ABC. And then you got the Red Sox and the Yankees, 6 o'clock. Max Fried on the mound for the Yankees. So if you've forgotten about him, since he's no longer in Atlanta, you can check him out later this evening. And then the late game, Cincinnati taking on the Dodgers.
Yeah, and obviously these are all teams that made their way into the postseason. Cincinnati by the skin of their teeth, and the assist of the Mets metting over the weekend by losing the Marlins to help them out there. But obviously know what you have in the Dodgers, and again you have the two top seeds that are on byes awaiting the respective winners to go into the divisional series. So you have an LA team that obviously won the whole thing last year. That's always capable, probably has the best roster in all of baseball on a year-in, year-out basis. It's certainly spin like it. And again, if you just want to marvel at Shohei Ohtani, you got the opportunity to do that again, in this postseason after, obviously another incredible season from him.
So we'll kind of keep you updated. We'll give you updates if you're not able to have a TV in front of you. If you're a Tigers or a Guardians fan, and we'll get those on one of the TVs here. I think we already got that one over there. It's on the ESPN. So it's going to be a fun little day. Again, we're going to get into big picture. We'll take a final look back at the Kentucky game. Where do we kind of rank this game? Where do you rank it as a victory? I don't think you can just throw it aside just yet, but we'll discuss that. What exactly does it mean as we wrap up the month of September for the Gamecocks? And then we'll also start to get into a few other things. Again, Tyler and I want to go down a path here of doing some grades, but we'll get into a little bit of final thoughts on Kentucky when we come back. Again, if you want to weigh in today, 803-404-6100 is how you can do so. Is that old Captain Dave in there?
Dave's back. Dave gets Mondays off after games, which, by the way, everybody, think of Dave, because I had to ask him when we were transitioning there. Selena Gomez got married over the weekend, in case you didn't know,
I did
Vinny Blanco. And Dave, much like when Haley Steinfeld married Josh Allen, Dave's taking it tough. So think about Dave and all that as he's dealing with this tough situation. Well, we're pulling for you, Dave.
Hey, hang in there, buddy. You okay back there?
I'll survive.
Which I did say, a lot of celebrities get divorced, so there's always that opportunity down the line. So don't give up.
Yeah, that's a show for another time on celebrity divorces. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the Halftime Show.
It's all right here for our friends over at Old Timey Meat Market. I know you look outside and it's not exactly the prettiest day, but better days are ahead. You got some sunshine coming in later on in the week. And while there's no home game for South Carolina this weekend, you do have an opportunity to get outside and do some grilling with family and friends. You want to make sure you have the right equipment to do that. And that best equipment is a Traeger grill, where you can grill out with family and friends, and you can go over to Old Timey Meat Market and check out their selection of Traeger grills because they got plenty in stock, also with plenty of pellets, rubs, sauces, and accessories too. You can come by the Old Timey Meat Market over in Lexington, where Bill and I live, and take a look at the many sizes of Traeger grills. And while you're there, you might as well pick up some meat as well, because they have their shelf stocked with various cuts and grades of beef, pork, poultry, seafood, and exotic meats. Selections are always fresh, never frozen, competitively priced, and of the highest quality. You can check all that out at Old Timey Meat Market in St. Andrews, South Congaree, and over in Lexington.
$12:15 on a Tuesday, the final day of September. So officially, pumpkin spice is in full effect starting tomorrow, Tyler Head.
Well, gosh, I've been seeing the commercials for like the past month, so I feel like I'm not a pumpkin person. You know what I mean? Like I've tried pumpkin spice. I don't get the appeal personally.
It's a one time of the year kind of thing for me, and it's about a once or twice thing. I'll hit a Starbucks and I'll get all wrapped up in getting a pumpkin spice. And the first time I have it, I'm like, that's not bad.
Yeah.
And then the second time I have it, I'm like, all right, that's plenty.
See, I feel like it's become more of a status symbol type of thing, where it's like, you like to talk about it more than you actually like it.
I agree with that. It's gone a little bit to the point of where, people, I think, buy them and show them off.
Yeah, it's good for the gram. Oh, look, pumpkin spice, first day of October, whatever. Like, all right, but the taste just isn't there for me. I'd much rather get, I don't know, my usual caramel latte. I'm pretty basic when it comes to coffee.
Yeah, I've kind of backed it down in the last 9 years. But, it'll be officially pumpkin spice season starting tomorrow, and we'll get ready for Halloween and talk some Halloween movies and get you through the month and get all set up for Halloween, which is Tyler just informed me.
On Friday.
On a Friday, though. Oh, boy. And the Gamecocks will be down in Oxford for that. And
yes.
That's a whole other story. We'll get to that a little bit because you can make the case. After what I saw, Mississippi might be the best team in the country.
They certainly might have the best player in the country right now, a guy that nobody saw coming, who's sitting on the bench to start the season, and I don't think he's relinquishing that job anytime soon.
Well, we'll get into that here in just a little while, but let's revisit the weekend. South Carolina 35-13. They thump Kentucky. Yep, 2 defensive touchdowns. I don't want to hear the BS about, like, you can't count on that in every game. No, you can't. But there's a lot of things you can't count on in every game. Every game stands on its own merit. You can't count on Vakari Swain to run 2 punts back. You can't count on Oklahoma getting 9 sacks against Auburn in their victory over that. There's so many things. Like football games, they play out in a certain way. And on Saturday night, South Carolina's defense turned up the heat. They took advantage of a young quarterback making his first ever road start. And that's what you got to do. And, Tyler, you asked me last week, you said, well, what's kind of the history? You said, what do you remember about guys, backup quarterbacks, or guys making kind of their first start, so forth? It wasn't his first true start ever. But having their way with South Carolina. And on Saturday night, South Carolina did what you're supposed to do. When you got a brand-new quarterback out there, a guy who's a little green behind the ears, you go out and you beat him up a little bit and you take advantage of him. Kudos to Clayton White and the staff for doing that and not sitting back and going, all right, well, we're just going to play the run and hope we get out of here and survive.
Yeah, they loaded the box, took the run away, and said, all right, kid, go out there and try and beat us. And, again, he had some shakiness to his throwing before he came to South Carolina, but you obviously saw that on display. And, man, I kind of felt bad for him by the end of the game because they were teeing off on him at that point. But you're right. You can't rely on the defense to actually physically give you 14 points every single game or the special teams to run a punt back for a touchdown every single week. But you can rely on them being opportunistic to give you opportunities, right? So let's just say Gerald Kilgore didn't run that interception all the way back. He still would have gotten the ball at the Kentucky 45-yard line or something like that. If JT Gear doesn't run it in for a touchdown, you're still getting it in plus territory. Those are the kind of things your defense can do because, and this has been a consistent thing in the Beamer Beamer era with Clayton White as defensive coordinator, they're really good at generating takeaways. So while they may not physically score the points, they can put you in position to score the points on offense if they continue to take the ball away.
It's a little bit of a boom or bust defense. We've seen them bust a little bit. But the bottom line is that they have kind of upheld, again, as I said, they have upheld their end of the bargain through this month. We knew, or we should have known, that there was going to be growing pains when you lose 5 different guys. And last night, one of those guys gets an interception in Monday Night Football, Demetrius Knight, and then promptly had a holding call right after that on the next possession. So you saw his growing pains a little bit. But you knew that South Carolina, I thought South Carolina would have to be carried by the offense. They haven't been, but I've seen growth from the defense. And now you get a week to get healthy because I'm seeing guys like Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy come on. Fred Johnson and J.O., the linebackers, are developing at a nice pace. Judge Collier, we haven't seen if he truly stepped into DB1, CB1, like the next dude, dude who follows in the footsteps of all these great defensive backs who have come through here. Jalen Kilgore has been solid this year. Maybe the last few, you might want to enjoy him. Might be the last 7 or 8 games you see him in his career. But they're developing, and what you hope is Clayton White helps them turn the corner to develop even more over the next week to get ready for LSU.
Yeah, and that's one thing you mentioned, Jalen Kilgore, there, because I think he's played a total of 15 snaps this season, only played a handful the other night returning from injury. So that is one thing that does give me some more excitement for this defense is him coming back into the fold, hopefully 100% by the time the LSU game rolls around here in a couple weeks. Because, again, we had the anticipation that he was going to be the kind of that next corner for South Carolina to really command.
Kilgore, to me, he's a corner, but I thought Judge Collier is the next corner. That next dude. Kilgore's kind of.
But Kilgore's the safety that plays, the nickel corner spot. So I still consider that more of a safety type of position as opposed to a true traditional corner. But Judge Collier was positioned going into the year to be that corner for South Carolina. And give a lot of credit to Brandon Cisse. He's played really well so far this season as well. And you've had guys like Norwood and Makari Swain that have had to step in with Judge Collier being out, and those guys have done well in those spots, as well. But Collier is still the guy that you kind of expected to be the true lead corner in that defensive secondary, and hopefully he can be that when he returns fully from injury, hopefully coming up at the LSU game next week.
So coming out of the game on the defensive side, I think I like where South Carolina's at. I like where they're at coming out. Now, offensively, kind of to me, it's the same old, same old. And as a matter of fact, last night or this morning, game was on again. I was kind of rewatching it. I feel we have seen flashes.
Yeah.
And take out the first drive. First drives typically have been good, but I feel like we've seen flashes where you go, okay, and then all of a sudden it goes straight into the dumpster and there's a big fire around it.
Yeah. And again, once you get this deep into the season, you kind of are what you are. Now, could there be a game where the offense explodes and they go out there and get, 38 points or something like that? Sure, but I don't think that's something you're going to be able to count on consistently, especially as the defenses you're going to be taking on are going to get better and better with all these ranked opponents coming up. So, yeah, it's going to be kind of one of those things that if their offense can get you 20 points, 24 points, something like that, and your defense can hold on to keep you in these games, that's probably how you're going to have to play a lot of these because, again, you just don't see the explosiveness you need to see consistently from this offense to think that they're going to win any track meets this year.
Let me just say, as we sit here today, and I look at the next 7 games, if that is the case, I don't like it against Alabama and Mississippi. I don't like that. But the other 5, I'm like, okay, you're in the game. Yeah. I'm not sold on LSU's offense. Look, Oklahoma, even with John Mateer, isn't exactly ripping it up, all right?
Yeah.
And now you're going to put Michael Hawkins back in, and we all know how Michael Hawkins performed last year against South Carolina. And that game's here, and that game comes after the Red River rivalry. So a lot of reasons that maybe you feel a little bit better about that. Texas A&M, not sure what to make of Texas A&M. Go on the road and look really good and beat Notre Dame. I watched them a good bit last week against Auburn, and I'm not sold on Auburn. But I say that because the Texas A&M game, that's going to be an early game.
Yep.
By the way, did you see Johnny Manziel on social media? I think it was yesterday.
Yes.
Was it yesterday or something?
Yep.
Saying he's got something special for the A&M group. Does he know that's going to be an early game? Is he even going to be awake for that?
Good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think
maybe a little too early for him.
Yeah, if you didn't see, Johnny Manziel put out something about doing something special for the team for the South Carolina game. It kind of it was typical Johnny Manziel. Didn't make any sense. But Clemson, Coastal Carolina, those 5 games, you look at it and you're like, all right, those aren't juggernaut offenses that if this defense makes strides, love it. Offensively, you just said it. All right, offense, can you get to an extra touchdown a game, get to 24 a game?
Yeah, just do enough to keep you in it. And again, you mentioned LSU there, that being the next opponent. You feel like you have a chance in that one because their offense hasn't figured things out. Caden Durham's been banged up. They haven't been able to run the football. Garrett Nussmeier, who, like Lenore Sellers, was so hyped coming into the year as, hey, potential first overall pick, Heisman Trophy favorite, all that kind of stuff. He hasn't really done anything spectacular so far this year. So you feel like, again, if the defense can play well, you got a chance in that one. And now LSU's defense has figured things out a little bit more this year than they have in the past couple of years. So that challenge of scoring points is going to get only even tougher going into a night game there in Baton Rouge, but you don't feel like it's a game that you're going to go into and get beat 42-10 or something like that.
You hope not. And but again, it'll be a tall task. There's a good article on CBS Sports about how basically the loss to Mississippi basically signaled that the time is up for Brian Kelly. That just Brian Kelly and LSU are not going to be the fit that they wanted. And it was actually kind of an interesting article because it makes you think and look around and go, Brian Kelly's a really good coach, a really good football coach, but where could he go that fits him because it seems like it's not LSU, and I bring all that up because how's the fan base going to feel down there for that? It feels like even though they've only got one loss, they're similar to Georgia. Their losses to a really good team. LSU could run the table out. I mean, their schedule's really tough, but
Theoretically,
they could have 2 losses and still get into the college football playoff as well. But it does kind of feel like their season is in shambles already, and they've only got, again, one singular loss.
yeah, and if they were to beat South Carolina, let's say 27-14 or something like that, I don't know if that makes them feel better all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Especially if they lose that game, they're going to feel terrible about it. But yeah, it's a funky situation down there because on paper, yes, all their goals are still in front of them, hope is still alive, and all that kind of stuff. But you go back to Brian Kelly being frustrated with the media asking him questions. The other week after they beat Florida with how they were running the football and third downs and all that kind of stuff, it just feels like there's this weird riff down there of like, yeah, you're good, but you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah, it's a bad. I'm spitballing here. It's just spitballing comes to me because I'm trying to think where would Brian Kelly fit. And I don't know. Brian Kelly's
he's an enigma.
An interesting dude. How you feel about Brian Kelly in Wisconsin? I'm trying to think. If it doesn't feel like he's a Southern kind of coach. It just doesn't feel. And that's going to be interesting to come back to. And that's a big picture question. So chew on that one for a minute.
His buyout's insane. So they're not gonna push him out the door anytime soon.
No. And again, if that's something, if he wants all the money, yeah, he ain't going anywhere. So
yeah,
we'll come back. Let's take a big picture look at the University of South Carolina individually. Let's grade some players. We'll do that when we come back. You're listening to Tyler Head, Captain David Ayer, Bill Gunner. It is the Halftime Show. 12:33 on a Tuesday. Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, Captain Dave Adair as we enjoy our bye week so far. A couple of y'all weighing in on our text line. You can always join us. 803-404-6100 is how you can do that. On the AAA Heating and Air phone line is a way you can be a part of it. Quarter weighs in and it says Lane Kiffin to Florida, Brian Kelly to Ole Miss.
We're just playing musical chairs at this point in the SEC. So who go to LSU?
They need an eccentric coach.
All right.
They need less mild. Like Nick Saban is eccentric in his own way.
Sure.
Because of like the work ethic. Les Miles was
he was a different cat.
The hat.
Yeah.
And then Ed Orgeron.
Got to interest you in a man with a mullet.
You know, we're on the same page. We're thinking the same thing. Beth from Lamar goes with Brian Kelly would be okay at North Carolina. Yeah.
That's not high profile enough for him though. Like when you've coached at Notre Dame and LSU, you got to be at another high profile place.
North Carolina can be high profile. Look, it's the question would be does he want to be second fiddle to whomever the basketball coach is and whatever.
Yeah, I don't feel like he'd be game for that.
And at what point has he coached at two schools where, as you say, he is the main dude and he's like happy to just collect a paycheck, win 8 or 9 games, and do it in the background? Austin weighs. I like this one. Dabo to LSU. There's your eccentric coach. There's your fit. Yeah. And Brian Kelly actually I think would do well at Clemson as well, as we just kind of spitball on a few things. 803-404-6100. All right, let's do some grades here. South Carolina is through 5 games. The month of September is over. I think actually report cards from most of the kids came out about 2 weeks ago, if I'm thinking correctly. I should be a better father and check my kids' grades, but I'll leave that up to
report cards or progress reports?
I have no clue. Should be a better father. No idea. Let's start offensively.
All right.
Let's start offensively. Let's start at the running back position. We're going to do this. You had to deal with me for 3 weeks doing Faison Watch 2025. Well, now we got Rasul Faison in. What grade do we give the individual player Rasul Faison?
Oh, man. It's got to be like a C, right? C minus. I mean, you've seen.
Well, what do you give him?
C minus. I mean, you've seen a couple moments. He obviously had a couple touchdowns the other night. You know, he had the great run against Virginia Tech on a 3rd and 33. But I mean, really, it hasn't been what we thought it was going to be. Now, again, that's not all on him. You don't have the best blocking up front, and maybe you're not scheming him in the best way to use him to his best skills and abilities. So it's not all on him, but considering, and again, we focused so much on him in the offseason just trying to get him eligible so he could play, I think we all wish we would have seen a lot more out of him and all the running backs, quite frankly, through the first 5 games of the season so far.
Yeah, I'm gonna cop out here for a second on this. I'm gonna give him a pass. An incomplete, because he's had 1 game. So I'm not going to blame him, essentially. He's had 1 game with double-digit carries, and that was against Vanderbilt. And if you just blanked out and you looked at the numbers, you'd be like, all right, that's a solid game. I'll take it. 15 carries, 74 yards in that. Other than that, do you know the most carries he's had in a game the remainder of the season?
5 or 6?
8, and that was this weekend. 8 for 23 against Kentucky. He's had 7 for 40, 5 for 21, 6 for 5, and 8 for 23. If I had to give him a grade, it would be a D.
Okay.
And those numbers, the Vanderbilt game keeps it from being of an F. But I'm going to not blame him. I'm going to give him an incomplete. 41 carries on the year, 163 yards and 3 touchdowns, and those 2 of them again coming in the previous game.
And I think maybe off the heels of what Rocket Sanders did a year ago, the expectations are really high, right? Because you had an established SEC level running back in Rocket Sanders that came in and did a very good job in your backfield, even behind not the greatest offensive line up front blocking for him. And we look at what Faison did at Utah State, having over 1,000 yards, saying, okay, this is a guy that can come in and add that same kind of effect. And again, it just hasn't really popped yet. Again, you have a couple good runs here and there, but not nearly what we were hoping and expecting to see out of him through, again, nearly half the season.
Yeah, I'm not going to blame him. I'm going to give him a pass. and give him an incomplete right now. Let's go to the wide receiver position. I think this is interesting. What grade do we give one of the most talked about wide receivers, maybe in South Carolina history, just because of potential, in Nick Harbor? What do we give Nick Harbor for the year in terms of a grade through the month of September?
You go like, what, B- maybe?
Okay.
Is that too generous? Now
Your grade is your grade. You're you're a professor.
It is, and he's had a perfectly okay season so far, and probably should have had over 100 yards and another touchdown against Virginia Tech. So maybe we're looking at that a little bit differently if that goes well. But I mean, since then he's been okay. He's had some catches. He only had one the other night, but 3 and 4 respectively against Missouri and Vanderbilt. So solid nonetheless. But he's now seemingly been surpassed by Vendrevius Jacobs, which I don't know if we saw coming. And it's great that Jacobs is doing that and kind of establishing himself as a wide receiver 1. But I think we all expected Harbor to take that next step this year, and I don't know if we've seen that to the degree that we wanted to, where it's like, okay, this is the time where he really goes out there and takes over and becomes the guy at wide receiver. And he's had some moments, but I don't think he's taken the position by the reins quite yet.
Okay, I'm going to be generous here. I'm going to give him a B+. I like what I've seen. I think some of the offensive problems are not his. When he's had the ball thrown his way, I think he is done very well. You mentioned he's got the long touchdown against Virginia Tech. Also in the Vanderbilt game, 4 catches for 66 yards, 3 for 45 in the Missouri game. I'm not going to blame him for the Kentucky game on Saturday night. I think you're developing a very nice 1-2 punch with he and Vendrevius Jacobs. I also like the fact that they're 2 entirely different wide receivers.
Sure.
I'm grading him individually on what I've seen, and at this point in the season, 11 catches, 220 yards, and again, 1 touchdown. Last year, he had 26 catches for 3 touchdowns. I think during the bye week, if South Carolina can shore some things up, what you feel like you've got is a very, again, I'll say it again, a very nice 1-2 punch with he and Vendrevius Jacobs. And the one thing I can't speak to, Tyler, on this is, You know Nick Harbor. I mean, he had 7 catches against Vanderbilt and Missouri combined. Against Kentucky, did they make him a little bit more of a focal point to try and take him away?
And that is kind of the underrated benefit at that wide receiver spot is, okay, how much attention is he commanding that's allowing guys like Vendrevius Jacobs and Brian Rowe to get open? So that's an element that doesn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet that I do think because of what he was able to do with some of those explosive plays early on in the season, I think you are keying in on him more, saying, hey, this guy is a big play threat. Let's take him away. And if these other guys beat us, they beat us. So that is something that I think you can add to his repertoire in terms of just commanding attention and allowing the other guys to have more success.
I think it was CBS Sports the other day that actually had him again mock drafted to the in about the 3rd round. And I'll say this, that's a guy that he's the potential it's still there and he hasn't reached it, but I like what he's done. I like the development. You got to keep working with him. I know I've said it twice already. I'll say it a 3rd time again. To me, the one thing through 5 games, I feel like you're really developing a nice 1-2 punch with he and Vendrevius Jacobs, and hopefully he's a guy who continues to improve as we go into the next 7 games. Let's move to the offensive line. Now, this one, we put this on here for a reason, and it's not a good reason, or Tyler did, and he was thinking along the same lines I was. You got your 5-star left tackle, Josiah Thompson. I think we're going to both be in agreement. I don't want to speak for Tyler, but we're not going to say it at the same time. We're not going to do that kind of weird stuff. But he gets an F. It's been pathetic. And that's, and I'm sorry, and I'm not an offensive line guru, but my eyes tell me what my eyes see. And the other night, there was one particular play where he just flat got shoved backwards on his rear end. And I don't know if it's an off season of reading his press clippings. I don't know if it's an off season of not putting. I don't know what it is. I have no clue. He's not been good at left tackle this year.
Yeah, and kind of a similar theme with Faison and Nick Harbor. A lot of it stems from expectations, right? Because look, as a true freshman playing left tackle in the SEC, you're going to have a rough time, right? He got beat up a lot last year, pushed around a lot. That was to be expected, and we kind of put that on his growing pains. And, all right, you've learned your lesson. You know what it's like. Now, with another offseason to develop, this is where you take that next step. Again, we like to compare him to Caden Proctor a lot. That's what he did. Tough first year at Alabama, stepped it up in the 2nd year, and is legitimately one of the best left tackles in all of football now. And again, we just haven't seen it. And I don't know if that's overthinking things. I don't know if he just didn't get the development he needed in the offseason. But I've not seen nearly what I wanted to see out of him at that left tackle spot. And there have been some plays that are egregiously bad where he's just getting run over by some of these guys. And again, it's not going to get any easier going forward.
No, it has been a bad season for him. And again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know why or what the reasoning is. Is it just as simple as, well, he hadn't gotten the development? But he held his own last year.
Yeah.
He more than held his own last year, and this year it really hadn't been close. And that's something that they got to get fixed. He's got to get it fixed. They got to get it fixed. Really no excuse for that. 803-404-6100. Text or ways, and it goes Faison, D. Harvor, C+. Josiah, F. And then gives me an F and says, keep up with your kids. Look, I keep up with the kids. I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't harass them. Their mom is in charge of their grades.
Okay. So
I'm not the one. I don't like.
As long as they're not forging your signature on the progress report.
No, and I put my poor daughter, who's now 16, when she was younger, I was the one that tried to teach the math.
Oh, no.
And she's got some serious PTSD from working with it. So at that point, I learned in life, like, back off, let the mom.
Well, math changes like every 2 years anyway.
Yeah,
so
after that, I was like, man, I'm just here to be supportive. I'm just here to just take care of be supportive. 803, and that's what I'm trying to do with the Gamecock grades here. So we got those. If you want to weigh in, what grade? We'll come back. We'll get you a Lenore Sellers grade, and we'll switch over to the defense. You're listening to Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, Captain David Dare. It is the Halftime Show. 12:50 as we wrap up our number one. Again, no Shane Beamer press conference today, so we will carry you through our number two and continue looking big picture college football. Also, and I'll give you this coming up in hour number two. Great news. Big sequel coming out in the movie industry.
Okay.
Big sequel.
All right.
I'll tell you that.
I'll stay tuned for that.
Tell you to stick around to hour number two to tell you that. Let's go.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
okay.
you got it.
Yeah, I got it now.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Diane wants to weigh in. Here, Diane, how you doing this afternoon?
Okay, love y'all's show, but I think y'all were too hard on Josiah. He doesn't have as much experience and bulk in the back as we need for him to, and he's a sophomore, isn't he? And
Correct.
I mean, going up against these big guys, hopefully he'll get more bulk and strength. But I think y'all are kind of cruel on him there today. But our boys, I just hope they are go pick up and do better. I was much more impressed with them the other night. They looked like they really cared to play and were into the game. And I have a special request.
Okay.
Can you get Connor Shaw and Robinson to come on for quick interviews? You know, just let us out here know how they are because we're all praying for them.
I'll check on Connor. I can tell you with Travian, we have to go through the university, and they're not going to allow
Right.
that. They're not.
Yeah.
They won't.
Well, just let him know we're all thinking about him.
I will definitely do it, Miss Diane, and I appreciate you calling in this afternoon.
And go ahead.
I was going to say 803-404-6100. Let's fire through these grades real quick. Let's finish up offensively.
Yeah.
Lenora Sellers. I'll be honest, and I feel like I'm being generous, but I'm going to give him a C. I'm going to give him a C. There's things I think that's, maybe I shouldn't say I'm being generous. I think he's been perfectly average this year. The one thing I will say for him, and this is where maybe I'm being a little hard on him, I do feel like he's taking care of the football 10 times better than he did last year.
Very good. That's a fair point. I'll go B, and not B minus, B plus, just kind of average B right there in the middle because I think what we've seen in these last two games, obviously his arm is what kept you in it against Missouri, and that was the only reason you had an opportunity to win in that game is because you have nothing on the ground. And obviously you saw him finally kind of get back to being himself a little bit on the ground this past weekend against Kentucky, making some of those magic plays. I do still feel like, and we saw this happen on Saturday as well, it's almost like he's overthinking things in the pocket a little bit and hanging on the ball too long, and I can't get past that. But that ability and skill of what he had a year ago is still there. We just haven't seen him put together a complete full game performance on both sides, passing and throwing, just yet. So there's room for improvement, but he's still Lenora Sellers. We just need to see him get back to that version from a year ago completely.
Yeah, and maybe I'm grading him a little bit too hard. I'll admit I can be a little bit of a difficult grader here, but on the season, he is thrown for 886 yards. He is completing 67% of his passes, 4 touchdowns and an interception, 14 sacks, some of which I put on him, some of which I put on the offensive line. So
Right.
I give him a C, you give him a B?
Yeah, B.
Let's shoot over to the defense here. A few minutes left in this particular segment. Let's start on the defensive line. Let's start with the guy, Dylan Stewart.
I will go, because that past weekend was really good. I'll probably go, because a lot of his stats aren't there, right? Because the primary focus from all these teams is take him out of it, which makes a lot of sense. But when he finally got to run free a little bit this past weekend, you saw he's still Dylan Stewart. So I don't know. I guess B plus to A minus. Like, I still think he's doing what he's supposed to do. I will say maybe I'll go B plus because he's let his frustrations get the better of him a little bit this year, which, has hurt him and the team to a degree a little bit with penalties and stuff like that. So room to improve there, but as you saw again on Saturday, he's still a game wrecker. That hasn't gone away, and again, teams are scheming away from him as much as possible, which, hurts the stats a little bit, but he's still Dylan Stewart.
20 total tackles, 5th on the team, 3 sacks, tied for the team lead, 1 pass deflection, 1 forced fumble. We saw that this weekend. Look, as you just said, I know that people are watching him, and they're watching. He is being scrutinized to the nth degree, and he is being game planned against. I give him a B plus.
Okay.
I think we're being too hard on Dylan Stewart. He is. You look at the numbers and what he is having to do, and he's being held. I mean, he's being held a lot.
That doesn't help either.
And he doesn't have the help that he had last year, and that's not his fault. I give him a B+. You look at those numbers again, and it goes to show you again, 5th on the team in tackles, 20 total tackles. He's tied for the team lead with Brian Thomas with 3 sacks. I mentioned it. He is still making his impact felt. I know people, again, are saying, well, we'll look at him. A play kind of gets past him, and maybe he's kind of giving – I don't know about all that. That's on him. That's between him and the coaches and everything. Dylan Stewart's still making things happen this year.
Right.
I'm going to give him a B+ given what he's got. So
Fair.
we'll get into a few other defensive players, and we'll start to move toward a big picture look around. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 1 o'clock on a Tuesday. Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, Captain Dave Adair, as we will roll along on hour number 2. And I ask you to start the hour. A sequel, a movie sequel that you would love to see made. Not a remake. Good Lord, with the reboots and everything.
Come up with some original ideas, Hollywood, please.
But a sequel that you would love to see made. I know for the longest time, one of our dear listeners, Hope, was always on the Top Gun sequel, and they finally come out and make that.
They did.
And I
So,
think,
what, 25, 30 years, but they finally made it.
that's right. That's right. Thankfully, I have still avoided seeing Top Gun Maverick. And quite frankly, I think I've avoided watching the majority of Top Gun. And very proud of myself.
You just anti-Top Gun?
Yeah, I was old. I'm not I'm an 80s baby, but I'm not an 80s baby movie person. Like, you got all these, like, Jen would always get so offended, and others back in the day that, like, I didn't see, like, Ferris Bueller or
Wow.
Breakfast Club or...
See, I always contend that the 80s was the best decade for movies.
A lot of people say that. A lot of people, and that may be so. Those aren't my kind of movie. Was it The Goonies?
Goonies,
There's a lot of you out there that didn't, I mean, it's just not my kind of, they aren't my movies. That's not what I get into. So that's I never got into those. But
Well, I
mid-90s.
won't make any Ferris Bueller references then.
Therefore, as I just put out on Ferris Bueller, yeah. Therefore, as I just put out on Twitter, one of the reasons I go back, hey, they're making another Simpsons movie.
I did see this.
The Simpsons it's finally getting a sequel, and it appears that it will be out on July 23rd of 2027.
I think it's almost 20 years to the day that the first one came out.
Yes.
Funny story about the Simpsons movie. I remember watching a pirated version at my friend's house in 6th grade, like right after it came out. And that was the one time I saw it, was on this bootleg DVD that my friend had.
All right. So there you go.
Y'all were pirating movies in the 6th grade?
I wasn't doing it. I don't know how he got it. His parents or somebody bought it, but it was a silver CD disc that just had Simpsons movies scribbled on it. It was in good quality. Like, you could...
Was it somebody, like, filmed it out of the theater, like
No,
you're watching?
It was like a legit, like, I don't know how they got it or how it was obtained or whatever, but, because you said it came out in July, right? This would have only been a few weeks after it came out, so it wasn't on DVD yet, but somehow we got a copy, and that was my experience of watching the Simpsons movie as an 11-year-old.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Did it have
so
Russian subtitles?
It did not, no.
Ukrainian subtitles. That's how he learned everything.
There is a difference.
Yeah. There you go. So how about that? So speaking of sequels, you over the weekend had an interesting experience because Gator Bowl representatives were in town and acting a fool in the press box and getting kicked out because they were cheering for South Carolina. Obviously, the goal, and it's still in front of South Carolina, is to get to the college football playoff. That goal is still there. All the goals are still there.
Technically speaking, yes.
You can run the table out. And let's be honest, if they do that, given the schedule, they will be in the playoff.
Oh, if you go 10-2 with this schedule, beating the behemoths that you have ahead of you, which are all ranked in the top 13, you're in, and gosh, you could be like a top 6 seed probably.
Yeah, you're in. So, again, technically, while many of you might have already given up on the season and ready to put this thing to bed, all the goals are right there. And I would guess 2 losses in the SEC. I don't know how the championship would work out and so forth and so on. We're getting into Atlanta, but I'm going to assume you're not probably eliminated from that just yet either.
No, not technically. We'll call this the Gamecock Larry optimism.
There you go.
12-0 until you lose.
10-2 until
then
proven
11-1,
otherwise,
and then 10-2 until proven otherwise. So yes, if you were to run the table in these final 7 games, you would unquestionably be in the college football playoff, no doubt about it.
There you go. So, but with that being said, you do start to look at bowl projections, and I'm going to be interested this year on bowls or the evolution of bowls and everything and where we're at. But you've got a list here as now we wrap up September.
Yep.
The bowl projections are not what everybody was hoping for when we were sitting there on Friday before the first game in August.
And you'll learn this about me. I love bowl projections.
I do too.
I will look at them in July. I'll look at them in August and every week of the season because it really tells the story of how people perceive your team, much like polls do. But again, polls are only reserved for 25 teams at a time. But the bowl projections can really tell you where people are at on your team, and it can vary wildly from week to week. You can go from being in the Citrus Bowl and ReliaQuest Bowl to being in the Birmingham Bowl and the Gasparilla Bowl very quickly, which is kind of the story of what Carolina's done through the first 5 weeks.
So what do we have? What do you have here in front of us in terms of after now 5 games through, month of September wrapped up? We got 4 different bowl projections, which, by the way, good news that there's 4 different bowl projections. You'd
Right.
rather us say what you will. Going to a bowl is still very important.
Yes, it is.
Going to a bowl is still vital to a program. Why, you ask? I mean, it's very simple. You don't want those players going home and not being around your facility, around your coaches, whatever, during the holiday. You don't want them back home around mom, dad, friends, high school coaches who are like, transferring's not the worst idea,
Yeah.
NIL, maybe we should be. You want to keep them in a confined area
Sure.
where you're kind of controlling the message and they're not out in the public.
Well,
at their home.
And look, everything today is about the college football playoff in terms of pursuing a national championship. So bowls don't have the same meaning that they once did. But for teams that don't make the playoff, we always talk about the bowl game being your start on next season, right? You get the 15 practices, you get the bowl game, which doesn't count against your redshirt eligibility. So you play a lot of young guys that maybe you've only seen action in 4 games so far this year and start to get an idea of what your team's next year going to be, and also get an idea of what you're going to need in the portal. And we now know the portal window is slated for likely January 2nd through the 12th. So you'll get to play your game and then have the portal open up after that to kind of start building your roster for the next year. So there are benefits to it. And like you said, you don't want those guys sitting around not doing anything saying, maybe I should go somewhere else in the month of December. And gosh, for our sake of content, 2 years ago was not fun. As you lost to Clemson, it's like, well, next August, we'll see the team back on the field again because you had no bowl game to look forward to.
Yeah, and I'm out of vacation days. I can't take many in December.
Yeah.
So
Yes, we need things to talk about.
We need content. All right, so 4 different bowl projections. Brett McMurphy, Mark Slabaugh, Kyle Bonaguru, and Athlon Sports. Let's start with your favorite bowl. Because I will say this, even though bowls and the opponent don't matter what they used to,
Yep.
I'm with you. I get interested in who South Carolina's playing to see if it's a team that maybe I've never seen before. Just kind of an interesting matchup.
Yeah, and I also kind of view the quality of your bowl depending on what the date is, right? My rule of thumb is never play before Christmas as far as bowl games because those usually aren't very good. So perhaps the best bowl projection out of all these, I say it's probably like the Texas Bowl, which would be on Friday, December 28th. You'd match up with the Big 12. And this is per Brett McMurphy, has them matching up with TCU. A TCU that's been a pretty fun team to watch so far this year. They obviously slaughtered North Carolina in week number 1. I think that could potentially be a fun matchup against not the biggest brand in the Big 12, but a brand of the Big 12 nonetheless. And there'd be a late kick, by the way, 9:15 out there in Houston. So you'd have to stay up late for that one. But I could get behind a game like that.
Okay. All right. No. I'm not interested. No.
Not interested, no?
No interest in that. There is one here that stands out to me that looks really appealing, though. Again, you just mentioned it. So that's Brett McMurphy. Brett, pretty good at this, too. But one in particular stands out to me. That would be the one from Mark Slabaugh.
Okay.
And this isn't, when I say it stands out to me, Memphis is a nice town. It's not great. It's not awful. I think Beale Street is interesting. The Liberty Bowl against BYU, and it's BYU that stands out here.
Okay.
Just seeing South Carolina and BYU play each other, I without doing research before, pretty sure the Gamecocks and the Cougars have never faced off. For some reason, because BYU would play some weird Thursday night games out in Provo, and they'd have the mountains in the background, I'd watch a lot of BYU games. I kind of have become a fan of BYU. It was just something I like the color blue.
Sure.
I know that sounds very weird, but I'm all South Carolina and BYU in the Liberty Bowl. Yeah, sign me up for that. I'm not going.
Right.
I'm not traveling. I'm not asking any of you to travel. I'm just saying from a TV perspective, count me in. I'll watch that.
By the way, that would be January 2nd, the day after all the New Year's Day quarterfinal games, because the way the schedule or the calendar works this year. And you're right, South Carolina and BYU have never played each other in football, so it would be a fresh new matchup. And Liberty Bowl, that is very much like 6-6 territory, so
Yeah.
you'd just barely be getting into a bowl game at that point.
Yeah,
But,
maybe I'd be watching. Again, this is why you got to go to a bowl. And this is actually what I'm going to say while joking somewhat tongue-in-cheek prior to this sentence. Going to a bowl game is vital for South Carolina. You go, Bill, why? It doesn't matter. Let's just hypothetically say Lenore Sellers finishes the year the way that you hope he finishes.
Sure.
And he says, I'm going pro. I don't care if it's Aaron Nolan or Cutter Woods. You just mentioned it. Doesn't affect the redshirt year.
Get a look at your future.
You start your future quarterback, and no offense to Luke Doty. I love Luke Doty. Let him play. Please let him play.
Give him some snaps. Let him throw a touchdown or something. But
you start your future quarterback, Aaron Nolan or Cutter Woods, or you split them. I don't care how you do it. You play them in that bowl game. Put them against BYU. Count me in for that one.
Yeah, there's definitely value in that. And again, I've never been to Memphis, but I'm assuming you can have some fun there to some degree. So not a bad town to go to. As we move on, Bonagora has Carolina. I'm going to say this name. It's probably going to send shivers down a lot of spines here. Birmingham Bowl versus ECU, the artist formerly known as the PapaJohns.com Bowl, for anybody that remembers that very cold day.
That would be when is that? What time is it and when is it?
Hold on. That is one of the pre-Christmas bowl games.
Tell us so we don't even have to watch that. That would be miserable. That would be awful. East Carolina does nothing for me. The Birmingham Bowl, you're right, even though it's in a different stadium now, that would be miserable. I think about that.
Actually, wait, that is after Christmas. It is December 29th.
Okay.
You'd be the actual only bowl game that day. You'd be 2 o'clock, middle of the afternoon, leading into Monday Night Football that night. So, you'd stand alone in that one.
Yeah, no, thank you on that. And then the fourth one?
Fourth one is, again, the Liberty Bowl. This is per Athlon Sports. Would had you taken on Baylor and maybe Dave Aranda, or maybe he's got fired by that point in time.
Maybe he's failed to UCLA at that point.
Maybe he has, but yes, that'd be a Baylor matchup in the Liberty Bowl.
There you go. There's your little bowl eligibility as we wrap up September here. Just kind of giving you an idea. This is what the talking heads think of the University of South Carolina, where they're at right now. Again, Brake McMurphy going with Texas Bowl against TCU. That would be my second one if I got to pick one. All right, whatever.
Hey, it's a different destination, too. So that's something different.
TCU, by the way, I've because of what you said, I've seen them a few times. They're playing well this year. Liberty Bowl against BYU. You know what? If they got to go to a bowl this year, you don't see ReliaQuest on here. You don't see Gator Bowl. You don't see obviously the Citrus. Music City actually might be my favorite of any bowl. That actually might cause me to travel. Nashville.
Yeah, that's fun.
We've talked about that, but Liberty Bowl and BYU, kind of a completely different fun. I'd be all in. Kyle Bonaguru with ESPN goes Birmingham Bowl against East Carolina, and Athlon goes Liberty against Baylor. So there's little bowl projections for you. We'll come back. Arkansas is looking for a brand new head coach, but did the Arkansas athletic director kind of do Sam Pittman wrong? Did he kind of set him up and use him kind of as on the chopping block? We'll get into that. Some comments from the Arkansas athletic director that might make you think, maybe you shouldn't have fired Sam Pittman. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 119 on a Tuesday. Several of y'all weighing in. Jerry says it's a little early to be talking about ball games. Just my opinion. And I agree with Tyler. Never too early.
Yeah. Well, and especially for a season like you've had so far where your projections were so high to start with. And now, again, we're talking about bowl games like the Liberty and Birmingham and stuff like that where you're probably looking to be in 6-6, right? And again, making a bowl game is better than not making a bowl game, but it is an interesting study in just how much your national perception shifted in a couple weeks. Because let's not forget, after beating Virginia Tech, Carolina made it into the top 10. They were the 10th team in the country, and when you kind of do the math on how the playoff works, they would have been the last team in if the playoff started that day because of the way seeding works and all that kind of stuff. And now you're not even ranked and a good ways away from being ranked, hoping that you find your way to 6 wins right now. And again, you still run the table. All your goals are still in front of you, as you said a moment ago. But, again, it's more of kind of a look at where everybody perceives your team to be after most people, the exception of Brett McMurphy, were pretty high on you going into the season.
I just like to plan ahead. I like to look at it and figure out, okay.
Never bad.
What did you say, the Liberty Bowl's on the 2nd?
Yes. So the way the calendar works, sometimes they'll put bowl games after New Year's Day. Yeah, so you'll get the full day of quarterfinals on New Year's Day.
It's a Friday.
It's a Friday.
See, I'm already thinking of January 2nd, Friday, and you said what time is the game?
4:30, I think, so middle
perfect.
of the day.
We do the show, and then at 4:30 we'd be watching the bowl game against BYU, and that leads me into.
I don't even think we will, because we'd have a pregame show that day, so I don't even think we do this show.
They might just let us
be like a
just might be you and me. I might make a return to the pregame show with you.
I don't know. Well, it was kind of funky last year because they played on a Wednesday, I think, on December 31st, whatever that was.
But yeah, that was 31st though.
We kind of treated it like a game, but you guys did the morning show, and then we just did the pregame right after that. So
downside to doing the morning show, you do all the shows.
That's true.
Yeah, I might have to do that. I said that out loud. We might have to do that one time, make a return. I haven't done the pregame show in a while. We might have to make a return to that one time, make it a special guest appearance with you. 803-404-6100, how you can win. By the way, Jerry, just to follow up on that, I'm already looking at bracketology, baby. I mean, it's September 30th. Clemson's in the next 4 out. South Carolina's not listed right now. I'm already looking at the 68, the play-in games, Texas A&M and Miami, Georgia and Virginia. Yeah, it's kind of.
And again, it's more or less about seeing the evolution of where teams are perceived to be. And it's not just looking at South Carolina's bowl projections. I look at the college football playoff projections by all these people. Because, again, you'll have radical shifts that, had Georgia maybe as like a top 2 seed last week. And now they're like 7 or 8 after loss to Alabama. So, again, things change. The mindsets of how people look at teams change. And I don't know, I find that interesting as, we go along for this very quick college football season to set the table for the 12-team playoff.
Beth from Lamar weighs in and says, I'd rather choose sandpaper than go back to Birmingham. Worst trip I ever took.
And I knew bringing that up was going to bring up some, what is it? It was like, 20 degrees.
It was cold.
They ran out of food, pizza, and hot chocolate. And
then they would play Sandstorm. I think there was some kind of limit. They could only play it for like 8 seconds. Seriously, they could only play it for like 8 seconds.
But how do you run out of pizza at the PapaJohns.com Bowl?
They only had one entrance into the stadium. For all I'd heard about I think it's called the Old Gray Lady, for all I'd heard about that stadium, that was, we could do I could do 3 hours. We could do a podcast on that particular trip. I don't know what our rules are on certain things I can say on this, on radio, but on a podcast I can get away with more.
Be unfiltered more.
And, because we met some people. We met some people. It was a trip. Let's just say that. 803-404-6100. Arkansas is looking for a new coach. Sam Pittman, I met him. Met him at a couple of the SEC media days. Mm-hmm. You got to listen to him this year, I guess. I don't know if you were still there.
Yep.
I think he was one of the most genuine, down-to-earth, just perfect. I don't know if he's cut out for this profession as nice as he is. Yeah,
he's very much a player's coach. All of his players love him. He's very honest. I go back to what he said Saturday after he lost to Notre Dame. He's like, hey, I get it. Everybody's mad at me. I'd be mad at me too. Like, he understands the position that he's in, and it's just a good personality. Again, we talk about personalities of coaches that are fewer and farther between now, and Sam Pittman is definitely a unique personality that I think we've all enjoyed to some degree having in the SEC for a few years.
And he probably look. Was he going to lead Arkansas to big things? No, but I think as an athletic director, you got to be real careful in how you word things because this is last week. This is Hunter Yurachek, the athletic director.
This was yesterday.
Oh, no, not having enough resources?
This was yesterday.
He actually said this last week.
He said it last week and then said it again yesterday,
all right, so
introducing Petrino.
Okay, so this clip is actually, I didn't realize that. So let me, phrase that. We got our clips here. And last week, was it last week at a booster? Is that a booster club meeting?
Yeah, something like that.
Hunter Yurachek, the athletic director for Arkansas, came out and said, hey, we are in the NIL space positioned to win a national championship in baseball, which we know Arkansas is good at baseball.
Yep.
And he said we're positioned to win one in basketball. And John Calipari's there, and certainly they're going to invest some money in it. But he also said we are not positioned to win a national championship in football, and basically said we've got to pick things up. And, when you say something like that, that's not on your coach, right?
Sure.
Now, your coach still shouldn't get beat 56-13 and give up 42 points in the first half. But let's hear. This is yesterday. I didn't know this. Yesterday, they introduced Bobby Petrino. Oh, boy, that's a whole
Reintroduced Bobby Petrino.
Good point. Here is Hunter Yurachek, Arkansas athletic director, basically admitting Sam Pittman, the coach you just fired, he didn't have enough resources.
You were at the board meeting, and I gave you some statistics where our head coach compensation, our assistant coach salary pool, our support staff salary pool, and our overall operating budget ranked towards the bottom of the Southeastern Conference. I think with that information, Coach Pittman did not have the resources he needed to appropriately compete in this conference right now.
You can't say that.
Because that's more of an indictment on you as the athletic director.
That's an indictment. Yeah, you, the program, the boost, Tyson Chicken, Walmart, Jerry Jones, the people who have the money.
What, AT&T, aren't they tied in some kind of way with them too?
Not sure on that. And then you fire a guy like if you fired let's just hypothetically, if you fired a Bobby Petrino and you said that, people would be like, well, he's scum anyway. That dude, yeah, whatever. You fire Sam Pittman, and then you say, like, well, we didn't really give him everything he needs.
It's like, okay, why'd you fire him? Why didn't you get more you needed? Now, I almost kind of feel like his way of saying this is by saying the people that write the checks did not have the belief in Sam Pittman to want to put those resources forward. I think that's the point he was trying to make. I don't think it came out the right way because, again, I hear that. I'm like, well, you're the AD. Sam Pittman doesn't set the budget. Sam Pittman does not gather the resources. You're the one that's supposed to do that and then hand him those things to be successful with, which you did not do. I think it's more of saying, hey, we didn't have the support we needed behind Sam Pittman because people didn't believe in him as a head coach to bring us the success that we wanted to have.
Yeah, it's a good point. Is he trying to goad or push boosters into spending more money, saying, look, we didn't get it done with this guy. You love this guy, but you didn't. By the way, at the very end, they didn't. They were chanting "Fire Pittman" as he was leaving the field at halftime on Saturday. But is that his way of trying to tell them, hey, you loved that guy, you wanted to back him, you wanted to support him, but you weren't willing to support the program to make him to help give him all the resources necessary?
Well, and going back to what you said about him being at the booster meeting or whatever last week, where he says, hey, baseball, good. Basketball, good. We're positioned to make runs at national championships with these rosters and with these teams. But football, again, the sport that everybody cares the most about, and they certainly care about those other sports as well, we're not there yet. So that's more kind of, I think, along the lines of trying to light a fire under people saying, hey, if you want this to be successful, you got to step up. And, again, Pittman was already dead man walking at that point, so you knew he was going to be gone. But this, I guess, is a hope to reignite the interest and energy. And if you go out there and make an exciting, splashy hire, then you hope the checks start coming in to allow that coach the resources he needs to be successful.
So Bobby Petrino rides again. Oh, boy. Here is Bobby Petrino yesterday stepping back to the mic, and he has already said, hey, I want to be involved in this coaching search. Here's Bobby Petrino yesterday, thankful for the opportunity to be the new interim head coach at the University of Arkansas.
Yeah, first let me say how thankful I am to Coach Pittman for bringing me here and giving me this opportunity to come back to a place that I love. Very grateful for Hunter and Chancellor Robinson and the Board of Trustees for allowing me to come back a year ago and be an assistant coach here and then being able to do this. Whenever you make a decision, you base it off of, number one, what's best for the team. Number two, what's best for the individual players. And I felt that, it was in our best interest to do what we did this morning, for our players to improve individually, get a little bit more motivated, and I think it'll help our team overall get out on the field and compete and find ways to win a game.
April 10th, 2012, Bobby Petrino fired for cause for an inappropriate relationship and giving out $20,000 to female in inappropriate relationship. Yesterday goes to show you everybody gets second chances if you know how to draw up ball plays.
You can win. They'll keep coming back.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in if you want to do that. We'll come back. Let's look around college football. Speaking of these opening jobs, which one is best positioned to be successful with the right hire? We'll talk about that. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 1:35. Cruising through a Tuesday at a rainy, nasty Tuesday afternoon. So be safe out there if you're having to travel around or here shortly when you start to head home from work. Be safe. Get home to the ones you love and give them big hugs and kisses and have a nice, relaxing night. Major League Baseball on TV. Detroit Tigers have taken a 1-0 lead in the top half of the third in the opening game of the Major League Baseball playoffs. The Tigers and the Guardians there. So you got Major League Baseball throughout the day to get completely invested in. I just saw Barrett Salih on Twitter put out his prediction. He went Mariners over the Brewers.
In the World Series?
In the World Series.
Okay.
Part of me is like, yeah, okay, I'll buy into that. Part of me is like,
Is it chalk to go with the top or two of the top seeds? Because we've seen in the past couple of years, maybe not necessarily last year, but the teams that have those extra days off
don't play well.
They don't play well because you're used to playing every single day and not having more than a day or two off between games. And there's definitely a correlation. It was 2 years ago because the Braves were one of the teams that got a bye or got the wild card series off that didn't do anything once you got in the divisional series. So I'm always still kind of leery of teams that get a couple days off compared to the ones that keep playing through.
We'll get into this. The World Series you want to see against the World Series you think it will be.
Oh.
I'm just glancing at the World Series I want to see. Give me Mariners Cubs.
Okay.
Mariners, give me a little bit of Cal Raleigh where I get to see him for the Mariners, and then give me the Cubs. That's always a lovable story.
Yeah.
Make Jen happy. Jen would be happier. I'm sure that would bring a smile to her face.
See, I have to think about it from the standpoint of I don't want teams that I don't like in there.
Okay.
So Phillies, no.
Well, you either got to have a team you like or you got to have a team you don't like to pull against them.
But like
I say that, and I just did that.
I was going to say,
like the
I still don't want the satisfaction of the Phillies being able to say they got to the World Series.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So I mean, and I like the Seattle pick. And obviously what Cal Raleigh's doing out there has been a lot of fun to watch. And I wouldn't be opposed to either Toronto or Seattle. Either one. Those are very good teams and fun teams to watch. I don't know, maybe like one of them versus, I don't know, maybe like the Padres, who they got some work to do. Obviously not the most explosive offensive team this year, but I don't know. I wouldn't be offended by that World Series.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm pulling. I think that's what I'm going to buy in. Cubs, Mariners. I can get on board with that and keep me entertained. 803-404-6100. Again, we'll keep you kind of updated here. You got this game, and then coming up at 3 o'clock, speaking of the Cubs, they'll be hosting the Padres on ABC. Later this afternoon, 6 o'clock, Red Sox, Yankees on ESPN. And then tonight, Reds, Dodgers on ESPN coming up at 9 o'clock. College football, we continue to take our kind of big picture look around as we wrap up the month of September. Welcome to the new world of college football where 4 major job openings are available. And this is not the NFL. This is what the NFL used to do. Now we're in college.
Sure.
And here we are, and you look at Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State, UCLA, and Arkansas, who we were just talking about. And that's 4 quality jobs. I don't think any would be tier 1 jobs.
No. And look, you've been covering the sport for a long time. Do you ever recall this many, at least from a Power 4 standpoint, being done in the first month of the season? Because you ask the question, when you fire somebody like November, okay, season's almost over, you've had almost an entire sample size to go off of, but when you're a month into the season, you almost kind of say, wouldn't it have just been better to fire him last year and start new this season as opposed to kind of punting on the back half of your entire year and trying to figure out things for next year?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you got 4 people fired and nothing egregious. They didn't go out and get caught at a strip club. They weren't doing something with money.
They're filed for football reasons.
Yeah, they've been losers, point blank. They've been losers. And so with that in mind, we don't see that, but this is the new day and age of college football. And look, we talk about tampering with players.
Mm-hmm.
Best believe there's tampering happening with other coaches right now. So there's somebody somewhere at a lower level is checking out on his team right now. John Summerall maybe with Tulane. I don't know. Go through a couple other lower level coaches who are looking at their team, but their agent is calling them every day going, hey, Virginia Tech's at this amount of money. What do you think?
Start paying attention to press conferences. Summerall, Rhett Lashley, guys
Brett
like
Lashley's
that.
a big one. He had a comment today.
Well, when they start getting asked, hey, coach, Arkansas job's open. What you think? I'm committed to SMU. I'm committed to being here and winning and all this kind of stuff. And, just keep an eye on FlightAware, because if you start seeing flights from Dallas, Texas to Fayetteville, Arkansas, it's when things start going off in your mind. By the way, is any other sport follow flights more than college football fans when it comes to a coaching search?
We're all professional flight trackers. We all become very investigative, private investigators, and very good at it. So, best job out there right now. 4 jobs, best job. I think it's clear cut. But I'll let you speak first.
So when you say best, is in terms of what you have there, or best opportunity to win and succeed?
All. Give me the backing of the boosters. Give me the conference. Give me financial security. Give me facilities. Give me everything.
I think if we're going,
you got to pick one job here that you look at and you're like, all right, I can go there, and the college football playoff is. I like that.
Honestly, I would say your best path to success is probably Oklahoma State, because of how wide open the conference is. Because, look, if you go to Arkansas, yeah, you're going to come in, get a flood of resources. You can get players out of the transfer portal, but you still have a large ladder to climb to get to the level of where Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, LSU, all these teams are. So you're fighting uphill, as opposed to going into Oklahoma State, where, you have top dogs in that conference, but it's not a clear-cut, okay, here's level 1, here's level 2. It's so wide open, which is what makes the conference so fun. And again, Gundy did not have the resources that he needed, but he didn't seem to lean into those things as much as he probably should have, which is why they moved on from him. So I feel like if you go to Oklahoma State, you get good resources, you embrace the transfer portal, you can probably be successful a lot quicker than some of these other schools in the other 3 power conferences.
So I like Oklahoma State. I think until yesterday, Oklahoma State was the easy answer.
Yeah.
It was the easy answer. You got the Big 12. You got really good financial backing. But yesterday, the Virginia Tech Board of Visitors, whatever that is, overwhelmingly approved a plan to add $229 million to their athletic budget. Now, we talked about Hunter Yurachek coming out last week, and then again yesterday, and basically saying they didn't have the funds. Virginia Tech in the offseason basically said, we don't have it. We can't play big. I mean, they essentially said we can't play big boy football.
Yes.
It was throwing the white flag up instantly on Brent Pry. $229 million. There's no doubt the ACC, say what you want, right now is still the weakest of the 4 major conferences.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Tech has played for a national championship. Virginia Tech is in a great recruiting area. I think with this plan, this $229 million, all right, the decision is adding $47.1 million to the budget for the current fiscal year, and that'll put them more in line. Moves them to the top half of the ACC and to the top tier, actually.
Yep.
I think it's Virginia Tech. You got a rabid fan base. Now, Oklahoma State's got a fan base. You got a fan base. But I think that this makes Virginia Tech the job where I would be like, okay, let me go there. I can compete in the ACC as opposed to the Big 12, which, by the way, is why I say Arkansas. Arkansas financially is the one school here. We just mentioned it. Tyson Chicken, Walmart. Somebody get Jerry Jones on the line. Their boosters are pretty good. Obviously, the SEC. But I think Virginia Tech is the job now that becomes a little bit more attractive to maybe somebody looking to make a move.
Yeah, at Arkansas and UCLA as well, you're playing catch-up in the 2 biggest conferences in
UCLA is the
football.
4th, and it's not even close.
Yeah, it's not even close there. So your ladder to success is harder. Again, Big 12's wide open. The ACC has its top teams right now, Florida State, Miami, teams like that. We thought Clemson was going to be one, but the path to get towards the top is not as challenging as it is in the SEC and the Big Ten. And yes, if that investment does go a lot towards football, you can succeed there if you're the right kind of coach that knows how to play with that kind of stuff and obviously embrace things like the portal too.
Yeah, I'm Virginia Tech, I mean, look, obviously we saw them here at the beginning of the year. That's a proud, tradition-laden program. Again, a great fan base. You put money into the program. We'll see if they're able to hire the right coach. 803-404-6100. We'll come back, wrap up hour number 2. It is the Halftime Show.
to his right, looking for somewhere to go. And it's picked. Intercepted by Demetrius Knight. And with that interception, he just saved about 19, maybe.
That was the call last night, Monday Night Football. We were all treated to Monday Night Football. We were all
there. Those were football games that happened.
We were punished.
It's about all I'll say.
We were punished last night. Some NFL news. That was Demetrius Knight's interception last night, so good for him. And probably the highlight of the night for the Bengals. They get exposed 28-3. There's only one man who can save the Bengals. You realize that? One man.
Assuming Joe Burrow.
No, he's injured.
No.
But you're at the right position. He's a third stringer right now. It's time to bring him home. Put him out there. Let him throw some picks. Let him throw some touchdowns. Keep us all entertained. Give us some great sound bites. One man. There's one man in the NFL who can save the Bengals right now.
Oh, okay.
Give me some Jameis Winston.
Okay.
Come on, Bengals.
I thought you were talking about somebody on the Bengals right now. I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, I could see that. Yeah.
Bengals, make it happen. You got to look around. Jake Browning's not your guy. He's a mess.
Browning is not going to get it done. You see the frustration with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase with how the ball's being distributed from Jake Browning. Yeah, the season looks like a lost cause. And here's the thing about Jameis Winston. You know, how many? You're 4-4 right now, so you still have 13 more games to go. 2-2. Sorry. So you got 13 more games to go. Realistically, at best, you're probably going to go about 7-6 during that time frame. But 1 week, he's going to throw for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. And the next week, it's going to be the inverse. It's going to be 0 touchdowns, 4 picks. You're going to throw for like $120. But when the highs are high, that's a lot of fun. And, man, every time he gets in front of a microphone after the game, it's must-see TV. So you can either continue to slog through the Jake Browning experience and just be terrible the entire time, or have a few highs with a lot of lows as well and have some fun with Jameis Winston. Your choice.
Yeah, you got to come on, Bengals. Make this. Let's get on the ball. Let's make this happen very, very quickly here, because you look at this. We got the Bengals have a game. They've got. I mean, this little stretch here, they're entertaining. They got Detroit coming up this weekend. They got Green Bay in 2 weeks. They got a Thursday nighter we're going to have to watch against Aaron Rodgers. Those three right there are a lot of fun. You've got another Thursday nighter on Thanksgiving against Baltimore. Come on, give us Jameis Winston. Let Jameis throw to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. We need this. Save that. But good pick last night for Demetrius Knight. Just unfortunately was a 28-3 shellacking that they took from Denver. The other game, significant NFL injury last night, Tyreek Hill, and I saw the video of him posted in the hospital, but he suffers a significant knee injury last night and torn ACL as well as other I sound like Shane Beamer as other ligaments, and will now miss the remainder of the season. Yeah,
his foot was turned the wrong way.
That's disgusting.
I think we got a pretty good indication of how bad that was going to be, and obviously there was a lot of strife in the offseason with him, Mike McDaniel, and the Dolphins organization, so you kind of almost thought they're going to be playing without him, and now they really are. So, and look, the Dolphins are bad. They beat the hapless Jets, who are restarting again with Aaron Glenn, so that doesn't really tell you anything about them. But, hey, both those teams won in that game 0-3. Somebody had to win, and it was the Dolphins, so they can feel good at least for a moment in that, I guess.
Out in Las Vegas, I've tried to follow this a tad and haven't followed it enough, but I saw this going into the month of, as we go into the month of Halloween. Are we following, or have you followed the Ashton Genty Halloween stance?
Yes.
Storyline here that now Pete Carroll's all in.
The statistics on when he stands like Michael Myers and when he doesn't. Yeah. There's a clear difference.
Whatever it is, if you have it, you got this whole story on this.
Let me pull that. I came across it. Let me pull up the statistics to be accurate.
Ashton Genty has a trademark stance, and you just heard Tyler explain it. It's called his Halloween stance. He stands there. He doesn't have knees bent. He doesn't have hands on knees or thighs, however you want to describe it. Yes, he just stands there. And the rookie running back now, they say, brought back the trademark stance and had his best game of the season, 155 total yards, 138 yards on the ground, and 3 touchdowns, one of those rushing, 2 receiving on Sunday for Vegas. So now we attribute it all not to running and breaking tackles, but just standing straight up.
And so this is per Underdog NFL. The 3 games prior, when he was not doing this, he averaged a little over 17 touches, only 49 yards per game, and he was right at, I think he only had one touchdown because it says 0.3 touchdowns per game. So, yes, a very clear difference in his play once he went back to his Michael Myers-esque stance from his college days.
It's here to stay. Genty saying that's how I naturally feel good standing in the backfield, so that's how I'm going to play.
Wait, he didn't invent this. There's been a lot of running backs that have done this before.
All right.
You go back and look. I think even Derrick Henry used to do it back in the day. Maybe he doesn't do it anymore, but I think his time at Bama, he was doing this a little bit too. But I guess Genty popularized it.
Okay. All right. So a little bit of NFL for you there. And again, last night we were just bludgeoned with a couple bad games. This coming week on Thursday night, you can always tune in right here and catch the game. This week, it'll be the 49ers at the Rams, so we've got that going for us. There's your NFL talk. We'll come back, get back into big picture college football. Hour 3 of the halftime show on the way. Final hour of the halftime show. Bill Gunner, Captain David Ayer, Tyler ahead as we get you through on a rainy, I think it's rainy, or still rainy. I don't know. It was rainy when I showed up. I'm kind of glancing through one of our little shades that we have here, and I can't look outside to tell you if it's still. I don't know what the weather's like. I just know it wasn't nice. It was not nice when I arrived here at the studio this afternoon. So maybe by now it's just beautiful out there, and I have no clue because we're kind of stuck in here with the shades drawn so nobody can see us. But hope you're doing well, getting you through here on a bye week. No Shane Beamer, obviously, today. However, there will be Carolina calls later on this week, not with Shane Beamer. That's right. You can tune in to 107.5 The Game right here on Thursday night, 7:30, and it'll have Carolina calls with Lamont Paris, the guy that we had on last week. He'll tell you all about his basketball team as they get set for the season. They started practice a week ago today, and Lamont Paris will be on Carolina Calls this coming Thursday night, so plan accordingly for that. And again, we'll get back to our regular schedule next week of Shane Beamer on Tuesday, and then Shane Beamer with Carolina Calls on a Thursday night. But we've been carrying you through. Major League Baseball playoffs are underway. Detroit up 1-0 on the Cleveland Guardians. That game being played in Cleveland, game one there of the wild card series. And again, that'll be followed up later on today. Cubs and Padres coming up at 3 o'clock. Red Sox Yankees this evening at 6 o'clock, and Dodgers Reds at 9 o'clock. So you get some meaningful Major League Baseball playoffs going on where it's time where every pitch counts.
Yes, it does. I think we had was that a camera that got broke? Something, the batter fouled off a ball, and I think broke a camera or some kind of glass behind home plate. There's a delay up there right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it did. It broke a camera lens. Wow, look at that.
Oh, yeah, stuff you only see in playoff baseball.
How about that?
Only happens. 803-404-6100. We have covered a lot of topics so far today, but let's go back and look over a couple of things that we have discussed. We put a final bow on the South Carolina-Kentucky game. 35-13, Gamecocks moved to 3-2 on the season. Pick up the Tyler. We kind of just addressed the fact that, all right, Kentucky's probably not very good, but you get a victory. You did some positive things. The defense, to me, continues to make strides. I think the defense is just where you want them right now. And the offense had moments where they looked good. Obviously, the defense carried the way with 2 defensive touchdowns that would have outscored Kentucky all by themselves, 14-13. But it's a game you take the victory, go to the bye week, get yourself better.
Yeah, it was very much a get-right game, which those are typically reserved for G5 and FCS opponents. But, Kentucky being kind of what we assumed is the worst team in the SEC this year.
And did that validate that now that we've seen them? Is that a Cutter Bully thing? Is that a Kentucky thing?
I don't put that on Cutter Bully. That's a guy making his 3rd career start, first road start in the SEC. That's a tall task for him. Doesn't have a ton of elite talent around him to help him out. The defense isn't that great. So he was facing a challenge regardless. And, I mean, from what I saw out of Zach Calzada, they weren't that much better with him at quarterback. So I don't think either one of those guys is an elite solution there as of right now. But, yeah, what I saw on Saturday really kind of confirmed to me that it's going to be a long season for them. Got Georgia this upcoming weekend, which likely won't be pretty, as Georgia's probably trying to check out some frustrations after losing to Alabama this past weekend there. But you served as a get-right game, and obviously defense played great. We saw Sellers get more confident with the run game once again. And more importantly than anything else, you cleaned up the pre-snap penalties, which were a huge problem throughout the beginning part of this season, even against teams like South Carolina State. And you got better at tackling, which was a problem against Vanderbilt and Missouri. So you did your job in all those regards, and hopefully that gets the ball rolling and doing these things right for the rest of the season so you're not further hurting yourself when you already have a challenging slate ahead.
Yeah, so you get the victory. You got stuff you can put on film that's both positive and negative, and you'll get this week to kind of go and try and make some corrections, let some guys heal. Again, getting Judge Collier back on the back end of that defense will be big. Getting Jalen Kilgore fully healthy, I think could make a difference. That'll be some good news. Again, we didn't give him a grade. I'm going to give our grades here again. We'll go through our grades in just a second. But I think, to me, and I'd be interested to hear Shane Beamer's take on this. I know Shane's always positive, but one of the surprises of the early season has been Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy and his continued development each and every week coming along. Former 5-star recruit, and it didn't work out at Texas A&M. Okay, that's there was an injury there. Texas A&M is what it is. It's fine, but Tyler, having this guy come along as a force in the middle goes a long way to honestly changing how teams have to play against your defense.
Yeah, he very much reminds you of what you had a year ago in the interior of that defense with a experienced guy that can do a little bit of everything, which is what Gabriel Brownlow-Dinley has done so far. And he's been nicked up quite a few times this year, so you hope that doesn't.
And had helmet issues, by the way.
And had helmet issues as well. Yeah, you hope that doesn't continue to be a problem. But he is very much kind of fit the role of what we thought he could be. And again, we look at all these guys like him and Goodwine and even Aaron Nolan that come in with high regards after being, highly praised high school recruits. Say, okay, well, they're going to be able to prove that here. And again, it's a small sample size of only 5 games, but I think Gabriel Brownlow-Dinley has shown you he is that kind of capable guy and really has led the way in the defensive line room so far this season.
Yeah, he had 4 total tackles through the first 3 games. He has had 8 in the last 2 against Missouri and Kentucky, and I think is starting to flash there. And again, he's a little different. He's a bigger boy. He's big fella. A little different than what they had last year. A former 5-star recruit, redshirt sophomore for the Gamecocks. I think that's a guy that you really like. And if you can get him healthy, get a little more time with development with him, that's a great piece to put in the middle to go along with Dylan Stewart. Speaking of Stewart, we gave our grades here a little while ago, and I'll go back and start with Dylan Stewart. And your grade for Dylan Stewart was?
B+, if I remember correctly, because, again, when we finally saw him have the game that we've been hoping to see out of him so far this year against Kentucky on Saturday night. And again, when you're that good of an edge defender, teams scheme away from you. They double you, they chip you, all that kind of stuff. So we knew the stats weren't probably going to pop off the page. I will say I haven't loved what I've seen from like the frustration angle of him, not having his best moments, getting some flags, that kind of stuff. So that's an area to certainly improve on. But again, he reminded you on Saturday night when he finally got to tee off a little bit of just how great of a player he is and why defenses do have to account for him. So again, he's still as good as he ever was. You want to correct some of the, maybe the mental mistakes that he's been making this year, but I mean, he's still Dylan Stewart, and you have to account for that when you're these other teams preparing for South Carolina.
I'll chalk it up, fair or unfair, but I'll chalk it up to maturity issue right now. You just got to learn to deal with it. Look, last year everybody knew about him. He was the freshman and he burst onto the scene, but he still was kind of the young pup, and everybody said, oh, I can line up and block him one-on-one. And now coaches are going, okay, we need to do something about this guy. And opposing teams are grabbing, holding, doing whatever they can. But again, 5th on the team in tackles with 20, tied for the lead with sacks with 3. He's got that forced fumble. I gave him a B+. I think he's played well. I know people have talked about his attitude. There was the situation that got brought up by somebody about him trying to walk off the field at the Missouri game. Nothing seemed to come of that. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe just frustration. He's a competitor. He doesn't want to lose. I'm not chalking that up to anything. I think Stewart, we're grading him too harshly. I give him a B+ for the year.
Sure. Well, and hey, when you're a high-level player like him, you're going to be looked at through a little bit more of a microscope than other people. And if it had only been the alma mater thing, I don't think we make a big deal about it. But the fact that you had a couple of other incidents with the flags and him getting ejected the week before, it's like, okay, you kind of thought those things were adding up a little bit. And again, no problems, no issues on Saturday night against Kentucky. And we talked about this yesterday. You go back and look, and he was even celebrating before gear crossed the goal line. I guess doing T.J. Sanders' guitar smash celebration on the field, though you didn't get to see the end of it because the camera kind of cut away. But he seemed to be feeling himself a lot more on Saturday night, which was good. And you hope that's kind of what you get each and every week going forward, because again, you're going to need him to be at his best, take down some of these really challenging quarterbacks and offenses coming forward.
Offensively, we went through 4, and Josiah Thompson we were rough on a little bit. We were rough, and I think it was fair. Josiah Thompson,
because we had high expectations. Higher expectations.
There's been a significant step backwards from last year. And unfortunately, his mistakes, it's one thing when you get beat and you grab and you hold, right?
Yep.
But like on Saturday night, he simply got put on his rear. There's one play, he simply just gets thrown. it's as bad as it can get. I don't know whether he tripped and fell. There's another one earlier this year where he whiffed on a block and stumbled across the line. It stumbled down the line of scrimmage. It was a very ugly look. I don't have an answer. I truly don't have an answer for kind of what's happened to him this year.
Well, and again, if this was just one person, I don't think we raise as many questions, but we've seen, unfortunately, a consistent issue with the offensive line over the past handful of years with guys not quite living up to their potential as they were being built coming out of high school, and he's just the latest example of that.
But he did that last year. He lived up to it last year.
Well, and he made a lot of mistakes last year, but again, that was to be expected as a true freshman. But yes, you're right. You had a very clear regression, it seems like, from year one to year two, which was not supposed to happen.
Yeah, that's my thing. Last year, Josiah Thompson was perfectly fine. He was All-American, freshman All-American. He was there. He was fine. And, yeah, you expected him to take another step forward this year and kind of become that brick wall at left tackle, or at least get closer to being a brick wall. And right now, he's nothing more than just a speed bump on the way to Lenora Sellers. There has been a regression, so we were a little rough on him. Rasul Faison, I gave Rasul Faison an incomplete grade because he hadn't really been impressive, but he's shown a few things. But I don't know if he's gotten the opportunities because of play calling and offensive line that I was hoping he would get.
Yeah, and that's the tricky thing is when you're in a spot like that where you do depend on another unit of your offense to really help you out a lot. And it's not just the offensive line. It's also receivers, tight ends, blocking on the edge and perimeter, which has been a problem at times this year as well. So maybe he's not given the best chance to succeed, but at the same time, we've seen guys like a Rocket Sanders last year succeed with some of those same issues, but his abilities as a running back helped him overcome that a little bit, and we just haven't unfortunately seen that with Faison to start this year yet.
We also gave a grade to Nick Harbor, wide receiver. I gave him a B+. Look, he can't throw the ball to himself. I think he's been improved. He's got 11 catches, second on the team behind Vandrevius Jacobs. I think those two are formulating a very nice 1-2 punch. If they can continue to improve the passing game, I like where South Carolina's going with that. What I've seen from Nick Harbor, individually, not offensive-wise, but individually, I like where he's at. I think it's a B. I give him a B+. I think he can finish the next 7 with a really strong year.
He's tracking better than he was at this point a year ago, which is good. And again, you expected a nice step forward in year number 2. And again, he probably should have had over 100 yards and another touchdown against Virginia Tech to make those numbers look, even better there. And we brought this up earlier, stats with wide receivers can be deceiving because if you're trying to take him out of the game as the defense, well, okay, that's going to open up lanes for guys like Vandrevius Jacobs and Brian Rowe. So I think his effect on the game is even more this year, which doesn't necessarily show up on the stat sheet, but is something worth accounting for because, again, he is an explosive play threat that other teams are going to do everything they can to take away from. So I do think that adds, and I think B+ is fair.
I think he's got to get a few more chances here, but he's kind of, I think, done some things there that individually I really like B+ for him. And then Lenora Sellers, I gave Sellers a C. That's probably overly hard. Obviously, he's had some great throws at times. We saw him get more effective with his legs this past weekend, but he's also had some really bad plays, taken some really bad sacks, and the accuracy at times has not been what you would want it to be. Now, he's still completing 67% of his passes.
Yeah, and again, is an overthinking thing or trying to do too much when he has the ball in his hands in the pocket? We don't know. He's looked a whole lot better this past weekend, but even still took some sacks. We're like, man, just throw the ball away, which is, again, something kind of going on with his processing there in the pocket. So there's room to improve. But, again, he reminded you over the past 2 weeks, throwing against Missouri, running against Kentucky, of just how special he is, in case you forgot.
803-404-6100. So there's some grades. When we come back, let's take a look around the big picture again of college football through the month of September. Who's got the best wins so far, and who have been the 3 most impressive players? Because, well, we had some players that we were counting on to be impressive. They hadn't done that. So we'll take a look and find 3 more guys that have been the most impressive players for the scene of college football. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Captain David Ayer, and Tyler Head. It's the Halftime Show. I want to remind you about our fall craft beer card, just $59. Go to 1075thegame.com, click on Sweet Deals, purchase yourself a lovely fall craft beer card, and you can save around $300. Again, all you got to do is go to 1075thegame.com, click on Sweet Deals, and purchase your fall craft beer card today. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in on anything you hear from us this afternoon. So we've talked a lot of South Carolina, but also as we wrap up the month, final day of September, we wrap up the month, we kind of take our big picture view of, all right, what did September bring us? Boy, here we are. We are through. We got 3 months of this, really. 3 months, obviously, now with the college football playoff and bowl season. You get December and January. But regular season, you get September, October, November.
Yep.
One of them is done. We are all done. We're done with September. A lot of teams have played 5 games. Some teams have played 4 games. So let's look here at early on, Tyler, the 3 most impressive wins from the month of September. I'll start with you. What do you have as the 3 most impressive victories? You can go anywhere with this.
Yep.
3 most impressive victories that have stood out to you here in the month of September.
I start off with Florida State's win over Alabama.
Okay.
Making a very big impression week number 1, especially considering where Florida State was a year ago. Thomas Castellanos talking his trash the entire offseason, and what we expected to be a really good Alabama team in year number 2 under Kalen DeBoer, and just dominating them, out-physicaling them for 4 quarters to the point where we thought Alabama was broken. People were looking up Kalen DeBoer's buyout and talking about, man, he's going to go 6-6 and miss a bowl game or something along those lines. And we've obviously seen Alabama correct course over the past couple weeks. But at the time, there was no more impactful win in week number 1 than Florida State.
I'm with you on that. All right, go number 2.
Indiana's win over Illinois not this past weekend, the weekend before, 63-10. Indiana was such a controversial story a year ago because many felt they backdoored their way into the college football playoff by, hey, you played a lot of nobodies. You played Ohio State, got beat by 2 touchdowns, but it wasn't even that close. And then you got smoked when you finally got in the playoff by Notre Dame. This year's Indiana team is different, with maybe the best quarterback in all of college football and Fernando Mendoza leading the charge. And they absolutely took it to what we perceived to be a pretty good team in Illinois by a dominant performance. My last one, Texas Tech over Utah.
Oh.
Big 12 is wide open. That was an interesting game. We obviously know Utah is a very physical team, always has been under Kyle Whittingham. Not only did Texas Tech out-physical them, they beat them with a backup quarterback and beat them pretty soundly at that. So that was the early, statement game in the Big 12 so far this year.
All right, that's Tyler's 3 games. So Florida State, Bama, Texas Tech over Utah.
And then Indiana over Illinois.
Okay, so I'm with you, Florida State over Bama. And quite frankly, because of what Alabama did this weekend over Georgia, that has me kind of even more impressed with the Florida State game and what Thomas Castellano did. Now, of course, it did lose its luster a little bit with Florida State losing on Friday night to Virginia. But I'm with you. That was impressive. It signaled Florida State's going to be a player this year. Obviously, I'm excited about this weekend. I hate that Florida State lost. That really lost. That caused the luster to be taken away from Florida State Miami this coming Saturday. But I'm with you on this. That was my number 1. Number 2, I go a little bit different from you. Texas A&M going to South Bend and winning that game. We're kind of writing off now after what Notre Dame did to Arkansas this past weekend. I'm trying to figure out what Notre Dame is. They lost that game to Miami as well. But for Texas A&M to go on the road, I think it was their first win on the road against a ranked team since I think it was 2014.
It'd been a while.
Was the stat. Marcel Reed stepped up in that game with 360 yards. Texas A&M kind of announced itself to the rest of the country. That was my other game. And then you mentioned it, Texas Tech. I watched a lot of that game on a noon game. Weird game because what was it? It was like a 10 a.m. kickoff.
Yeah, out there in Utah. Weird start time, but, both teams seem to be up for it.
Texas Tech. All right, folks, get ready. Texas Tech is heading to your local college football playoff. They are 4-0. You just mentioned it. That was a game that caught my attention. They've got Houston this coming weekend, then Kansas, Arizona State, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, BYU, Central Florida, and West Virginia.
Texas Tech was in a lot of headlines this offseason, obviously for what they did in the portal, and they're funded by oil billionaire Cody Campbell, a former player of theirs, and I think it's the great experiment of, okay, can you just buy a roster with a coach that you don't know if he's elite or not? And again, we're only 4 games in so far with them, so we don't know for sure. But again, so far so good. They look the part, and again, they did it with the backup quarterback against Utah, and right now they seem to be the favorite when it comes to the Big 12 to get out of there and make the college ball playoff. I still don't know how elite of a coach Joey McGuire is, but he's got the talent to work with now, and so far so good.
Their defense is legit.
It's good.
Their defense is that's where they spent some money, and their defense is very, very legit. All right, so now let's go to, we had all this talk. Arch Manning, Lenora Sellers, Garrett Nussmeyer, Cade Klubnik. We had all this talk about these guys, but they hadn't really lived up to the billing. Who do you have so far this season has been your most impressive 3 players that you've seen?
I mean, it's hard not to say Trinidad Chambliss, right?
Okay.
I mean, this is a guy that started the season on the bench, and, we look at transfers and we judge them based on where they come from, right? Like when you have a guy like Aaron Nolan that comes from Ohio State, despite never playing a snap there, you say, oh, high expectations for that guy. And if he came in and did something like this, like, okay, that's not really surprising considering how highly touted he was coming out of high school, as opposed to a guy that comes over from Fair State and D2, a D2 powerhouse, by the way. Great program. Only played 1 season there as a starter, so you didn't really know what you had. And Austin Simmons, one of the most hyped-up quarterbacks in the SEC coming into the year, goes down. And you're like, oh, no, man, what are they going to do without him? And Trinidad Chambliss steps in and has not skipped a beat. Has been over 300 yards in his past 3 games. And quite frankly, I don't see him relinquishing the starting job even when Austin Simmons is fully healthy again.
Okay, number 1. That's number 1.
Yeah,
what do you got 2 and 3?
I mean, I can't skip over Ahmad Hardy, right?
Okay.
And we saw up close and personal what he did to Carolina last week. Tackle breaking machine. I fully expect him to be in the Heisman mix the entire year if he keeps this up. And man, you can't teach that. You either have that or you don't as a running back, and he certainly has it.
Okay. And number 3?
Joey Aguilar.
Okay.
I think we looked at the trade, so to speak, in the offseason and said, that Aguilar guy, he was very, had some bad decisions that he made at App State, and nobody was like super high on him going to UCLA. I thought he could be good, but not a program changer, and he fits perfectly in the Heupel offense. And yeah, he still made some bad throws and some questionable turnovers, but that Tennessee team looks better than they did a year ago, and I think he's a big reason why.
Okay. All right. I'm kind of with you on this. The only one I don't have, I'll come. I got 2 that I didn't have Ahmad Hardy in there, but he's certainly fantastic. I did have Trinidad Chambliss out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Just Lane Kiffin he just builds quarterbacks out of popsicle sticks and they throw for 300 yards, and he is taking Trinidad Chambliss. This is an incredible story. You mentioned it, his rise. Don't see him giving up the job. That was number 1. Number 2 for me, he didn't have a great first week, but have we paid attention to what Ty Simpson is doing?
It's a good point.
11 touchdowns on the season. He's completing almost 70% of his passes. Ty Simpson, and I mentioned this, was former 5-star quarterback. He did something that no 5-star quarterbacks do. I know it's Alabama. He went there and he waited. This is year 4 for him.
Yep.
And we forget that he's a 5-star quarterback, but he's living up to it. And what he did this weekend, 24 of 38, 276, 2 touchdowns. I know Wisconsin isn't good 2 weeks ago, but he was 24 of 29 for 382 and 4 touchdowns. I know it's Louisiana Monroe, but he was 17 of 17 in that game. The Florida State game was the one you go, okay, but in that game he didn't throw an NIT.
Yep.
He got beat around a little bit, but Ty Simpson, very impressed. That's number 2. And number 3, statistically speaking, you don't put him up there with the other guys, but give me Haynes King.
Okay, all right.
If Haynes King is not playing for Georgia Tech, they're probably 2-2.
He's probably the most important quarterback to his team's success, which is fair.
He pulls them out against Colorado. He was a reason that they beat Clemson. Haynes King, keep an eye on that. We'll see. Georgia Tech's undefeated. They're hanging in there. Came back this past weekend. Give me Haynes King there as my third most impressive player of the year.
Yep.
So 803-404-6100. We'll come back. Go the other way. What's been some of the biggest disappointments of the first month of the college football season? We'll tell you those. It's the Halftime Show. We're rolling along on a Tuesday. Tyler Head, Captain Dave Adair, Bill Gunner here as we are taking a Tuesday to go big picture college football. Final day of September, and we'll turn the calendar to Pumpkin Spice Month. Spice Pumpkin Month. Pumpkin Month.
Sure. Spooky month.
Spooky month. You got a Halloween movie that you're like, all right, good. Now I get to watch this 97 times. What is it, AMC or Paramount or somebody overplays one particular Halloween movie? It could be goofy. It could be whatever.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. My wife and I actually just looked up the other day that Netflix has the 90s Goosebumps series on there.
Okay, all right.
I read the books as a kid, and there's just something about 90s aesthetic television that I enjoy. So probably that, which I think we'll get into. She's already decorated for Halloween. We're already up and running with that. So she gets into a lot more than I do, but I enjoy a good spooky movie. Okay. Not like a slasher type of spooky, just kind of like a chilly, creepy type of spooky. That's kind of my vibe.
So you're not going to go down the path of Jason or what is it? I'm with you on this. Jason or Freddy Krueger or Halloween is the one that I get on. Like Michael Myers, I'm okay with.
I enjoy like a psychological type of thing, like The Shining, like that kind of thriller, like scary thriller. That's kind of my speed. One that makes you think a little bit.
All right, okay, all right. Is The Shining's not a Halloween movie though, right?
I don't technically know.
Fall into Halloween.
It's like a winter. Is it around Christmas?
It was snowing in the movie.
Yeah, so I don't know if that qualifies as a Halloween movie, but that type of scary type thing.
All right, well, we get all into it tomorrow, so prep accordingly. Also, I'll just go ahead and say, because I love them, and actually now I think I'll stop by the store on the way. Candy corn month. I'll start it a month early. Candy corn month.
All right, you want to talk about controversy?
I love me some good candy corns. 803-404-6100. They never disappoint me, but certain players this year have been disappointing. Tyler Head, give me your three most disappointing players so far this season.
Oh, I'm going to go with the quarterback trifecta here.
Okay.
DJ Lagway, Cade Klubnik, and Drew Aller. All three guys that I think we had pretty high expectations for going into the year that, quite frankly, haven't lived up to it.
Okay, we don't do this on purpose, or we didn't intend to. I'm with you. I was actually with you on all three. I had all three on my list here. I'm going to try and change DJ Lagway, but let's walk through these real quick.
Okay.
Because we actually got all three. Cade Klubnik, I genuinely don't like to feel bad for anything that wears orange and is in the upstate, and don't want to say give them any credit or any sympathy. I do feel for this young man because Clemson's got a lot of issues, but he feels like issue 1A right there. He's at the top for whatever reason. It's just not clicking for him and Garrett Riley.
Well, and I think because, he had his struggles in year one as a starter back in 2023, and he made a significant step forward last year. So you naturally think of, okay, wow, year number 3 is going to be even better. And, again, he was talked about as a first-round pick and Heisman and all this kind of stuff, and you just haven't seen it, right? And he's made some bad decisions with interceptions and stuff like that, and you just see a step back. And considering maybe having one of the best trios of wide receivers around him, and I get it, Antonio Williams has been hurt for a lot of this year, so that doesn't help, but it just doesn't seem like he's played up to the potential of what he was supposed to be this year.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Now, I will say I didn't buy into all the Cade Klubnik hype initially. I didn't think he was as good as a lot of people were leading him on to be, but there's no denying that this year so far has been a massive disappointment for him. Drew Aller, let's go to him.
Yep.
Because there's just this expectation. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is with Drew Aller, but there's just this expectation that maybe he should be something that he's just simply not at this point, right? Like I asked you when I came back last week after the Missouri game, when do you know what a football team is? Well, you can ask the same question about a football player. When do you know when that football player is? Is it during his sophomore year? Is it during his junior year? Do you wait till senior year and you hope for a breakout year? Drew Aller is who he is, in my opinion. Nice quarterback, but just simply not the dude.
Yeah, and there was the thought, through the first couple games where he didn't look spectacular, that, okay, they're holding something back. They don't want to show all their cards. The Oregon game, that's when he's really going to take off. And he did all of nothing through 3 quarters. That entire team did all of nothing through 3 quarters. And give him credit, he did enough to help get them back in the game and take it overtime. But then in overtime, the second possession of overtime, throws a pick on first down. You know what I mean? And it goes back to another bad decision. I don't even think he saw the guy that stepped in front of it, but like, we expected a lot more out of him, and he's just not to the point where their fans are like, hey, did we hang on to the wrong guy? Should Bo Perbula have been our quarterback this year and Drew Aller hopped in the portal? Like, that's where they're at with Aller right now.
And then, probably the most disappointing player has been DJ Lagway.
Yes.
5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Did throw those 5 interceptions against LSU. That'll run up that interception number there very quickly. But this is a guy that just simply he was injured. He was injured, and you wonder with Lagway, did he read too much of his press clippings and he doesn't put in the work in the offseason, which then allows his body to not be prepared and he gets injured. I don't know what it is with him, but there seems something funky with him, and I think we're all waiting for him to enter the transfer portal last week, but now he gets Texas this coming week. Florida gets Texas. But, 83 of 123 on the season, 690 yards. I mentioned it again, 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and has been sacked 9 times. Yeah, that's the definition of you've been a disappointment.
Definitely so. And many people, including myself, were very high on the hype on him because we thought, okay, year 2 as a starter, you're going to take a big step forward. You got a lot of talent. You got decent talent around you. You saw flashes last year of what he was capable of being, and it just hasn't been there. Maybe it is overthinking. Maybe it is trying to do too much himself, but the decision-making's poor. Again, you're barely completing 50% of your passes in some games. You're throwing bad interceptions. Like, it's just not happening for him, and maybe that's a Florida thing. Maybe that's Billy Napier as his play caller. I don't know, but for somebody that had so much upside potential, you're not seeing it yet.
803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in on any of that. All right, now 1 month into the season, let's go to most disappointing teams. You got plenty here to kind of choose from, but I'll let you start with your 3 most disappointing teams so far this year.
Yeah, these you're going to have some crossover between disappointing players and disappointing teams because 2 of my teams are Clemson and Florida, where, again, Clemson was positioned by a lot of people as maybe being a national championship contender. That seems to be out of the running as of right now. Florida, and I don't know if anybody's had them in the playoff, but I expect them to be significantly improved from a year ago, considering how they finished out the year with some of those wins. And here's one for you. How about SMU? Team that made the college ball playoff last year, played for an ACC championship. Do you know who their 2 wins this season are currently over?
You're going to tell me bad teams.
East Texas A&M and Missouri State.
Beautiful.
They've lost to Baylor and TCU. Kevin Jennings, who threw a lot of picks in their playoff game last year, doesn't look that much better. You know what I mean? Like Rhett Lashley, again, who might end up taking the Arkansas job at the end of the day, they seem to have regressed. And again, people they start off the season ranked. People had high expectations they're going to be in the mix for the ACC once again, and they haven't played a conference game, but it's not looking like that right now.
Okay. All right. That's pretty good. So let's go with that. For the sake of not doing what you just did, I scratched out Clemson. Florida I didn't buy to begin with. But for the sake of not doing Clemson, one of the teams that I went with, Kansas State.
Okay.
Top 20 team to start the season. They are now 2-3, but they've got a loss to Army as they had to scratch out a victory against North Dakota. They lost to Army by 3. They then lost to Arizona. They won this past weekend against Central Florida 34-20. But this is a team that's 2-3 on the season. There was a top 20 team a lot of people thought would be in the contention for the Big 12. I had them as being one of the one of the most disappointing teams so far on the season.
Okay. Fair.
Also, now this is going back to our quarterback thing, but give me Penn State right now for one of the most disappointing teams in the country. Now, Penn State's still ranked very high. They're only number 7. They're 3-1. But they played these ugly games against Nevada, FIU, and Villanova. We mentioned Drew Aller. They're just there.
Yeah.
It's like they're just there. Penn State's just in the – I don't know how good they are. Great. You blew out Nevada. You beat FIU 34-0. You beat Villanova, and it wasn't a basketball game, 52-6. I don't know what I wanted out of them.
Yeah.
But when you're going to do that, you got to win at home in a whiteout against Oregon. I know Oregon's really good. I could have made the case for Oregon being one of my most one of the better teams so far. But I had to throw Penn State in that grouping as well. And then I'll get to the other one, 803-404-6100. Let's wrap things up in a second. It's the halftime show. Final few minutes of our program for the month of September. And then we'll be back tomorrow. Plenty of content to get in, and we'll look ahead to the weekend, keep you updated on the Major League Baseball playoffs as, again, the Detroit Tigers and the Cleveland Guardians going at it. Game 1 of the Wild Card Series there in Cleveland taking place right now. Let me finish that last segment real quick. Third team, a little bit of a surprise here for you, but they've been so bad, Tyler, so bad. They fired their coach, UCLA.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, I don't think anybody had high expectations for them going into this year, but yeah, because
yes, but here's why. Here's why. 43-10 to Utah, 35-10 to New Mexico, and then losing to Northwest. Like that, you're bad, like bad. They might be the worst. If we played who's the worst in the Power Four?
Yeah, that
they're in contention.
That might be them. And again, this is a program that a couple years ago, Chip Kelly was like, I think I just want to go call ball plays. Y'all have fun. Deshaun Foster takes over, and it was kind of a mess from there. Did they fire him and Pry on the same day 3 weeks ago? Am I remembering that correctly? Or did they get to him first? Either way, they're one of the first two to fire a coach, which is never a good sign.
Right. So there's mine for you. 803-404-6100 as we will turn again the calendar to October tomorrow. And we'll get more into this, but we'll now transition a little bit here for just 2 seconds. What do we look for? Big picture college football. Big picture. We'll worry about South Carolina later. What do we look for college football in October?
We'll see.
What do we wish for?
I don't know if we wish for this, but I think we look for who starts to separate themselves because, again, through the first month of the season, we can't definitively say, hey, this team's head and shoulders better than everybody else. And I know Ohio State's number one, and, again, they beat Texas, and then you probably haven't paid much attention to them in the week since because outside of Washington this past weekend, they haven't really played anybody of note. But I wouldn't say, they're definitely the best team in the country. They're number one because they're just number one, and they were coming off the national championship from a year ago. But nobody's really established themselves as the true best team in college football. And if that continues, we could be in for a very fun playoff. But October, especially as you get into the thick of conference play, that's when things really start to shift and narratives really start to get created about what teams are, who's better, who's worse, those kind of things. And I'm interested to see how that plays out this year.
So, yeah, I'm with you. I want to see parity kind of continue to rule. A lot of good games, and send us to November with the excitement. And at least right now, when I see these playoff projections, kind of like bracketology, kind of like bowl projections, I'm like, I think I could get involved in that. Last year, I thought it drug out a little bit too much. I was tired of the college football playoff. This year, I'm hoping that we continue to get good games.
Well, again, because I feel like last year we saw a handful of teams like, all right, well, the national championship's probably coming from these 3 to 4 teams, and it ended up being one of those teams in Ohio State. But this year's not the same. It's like, okay, I could see where maybe this team could get in there and make some noise, or this team could go on a run, and I think that's exciting for an expanded playoff to have more of a wide open feel to it than maybe it did a year ago.
So we'll get into all of that. We'll turn again the calendar to the month of October. Look ahead to South Carolina in October here as they continue on their bye week tomorrow. But I'll leave you with this thought. You tell me here as we go to October.
Okay.
And I think this is an individual thing. Could you spend a night in a corn maze, a cornfield?
Ooh, okay.
Could you spend a night? Because isn't that where it feels like a lot of
children of the corn, crop circles, signs, all those kind of things. Yeah, a lot of bad things happen in cornfields from a movie standpoint.
Cornfields are generally not where you want to be, but if I offered you, let's just say, $100, could you make it through a night in a cornfield?
Do I get a tent, or am I just out in the open?
You're out in the open.
Okay.
You're out in the open. You're whatever corn maze, cornfield, whatever it is.
Am I allowed to sleep, or do I have to stay up the whole time?
That's up to you. If you want to try and sleep through it in a cornfield.
I feel like I could probably sleep through it.
I feel like a cornfield might be one of the more haunted places.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it just feels like bad things happen in cornfields.
Sure. I think I could do it.
Okay.
Yeah. To me, that's less terrifying than a graveyard, personally.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Graveyard's a little different story.
I feel like graveyard's a little bit safer.
I don't know.
I feel like everybody's gotten out of there and we're good there. I feel like the cornfield where you got all the stalks, you can't see anything. Like at least a graveyard is flat. You kind of been able to see across and see everything.
Maybe it's shoeless Joe Jackson walking through. You know what I mean? Doesn't have to be something scary.
I think if you hold on to that thought of Field of Dreams, maybe you feel better about yourself. But then you let one little thing like, what is it? And I haven't seen these aren't my movies. Was it Children of the Corn?
Children of the Corn. Yeah.
Yeah. You start letting stuff like that creep in.
That's true.
Maybe some of Jeepers Creepers. I think that took place in some cornfields.
Signs. Cornfield on a farm.
There you go. We'll get into some Halloween stuff for the month of October. We'll talk a lot of football and keep you updated on those Major League Baseball playoffs. Y'all have a great rest of your Wednesday. Tuesday.
It's out ahead for the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder, with First Palmetto Bank. If you're looking for a mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder has got you covered. He's helped so many 107.5 Game listeners. He can help you as well. We at the Game personally recommend him. Owned and operated right here in the Midlands, Jacob has local decision makers, which means quick and precise processing and underwriting. If you're looking to make a move, you can give Jacob a call at 803-719-1005 or email him at jcrowder@firstpalmetto.com. Interest rates have stabilized as well as the local housing market, and now is a good time to buy a house. Check with First Palmetto Bank. Have products to help home buyers if you're considering building a home. They have no-nonsense construction loans that fit your needs. Again, give Jacob a call at 803-719-1005. Jacob's MLS number is 198432, and First Palmetto Bank is a member of FDIC and an equal housing lender.
3 o'clock on a Tuesday. Welcome aboard the post-game show. Along with Terry Ford, I'm Jay Phillips. Of course, it's a Bruise Day edition of the program. Now, don't mess with it. We already did it. Terry's messing with it. Don't just leave it alone. They have it on. They have it on sauna in here, and we put it down on 74. So just leave it, and we're gonna let it get to 74 before we go any further.
Put my sunglasses on. I thought we were at the beach, baby.
Dude, it is. I'm sweating.
Pants are coming off, babe. Pants are coming off.
You can't sit next to me and
Back
say
up,
that, Terry.
Brewer.
Nope.
Back
nope,
up.
Nope.
I don't. I'm trying not
What
to
did you do to this room?
Don't look at me, bro.
This is.
Don't look at me.
See,
do not look
Jay
at me.
is sweaty. Jay's always
He just worked out, then took a hot shower. He's trying to get back in shape or out of. I don't know what he's trying to do.
Trying to stay alive.
But usually this doesn't bother me. Today, this is brutal. Look at you. You're already sweating.
I'm sweating. I mean, it's 80 degrees in here. And but anyway.
This takes us back to the old days of the past regime that was on that thermometer.
Gee whiz.
This is ridiculous.
And I don't feel like the cold yet. So, but yeah,
we're
going to.
Gunner?
100%.
Tyler?
No, it's Gunner.
Let's go Gunner.
Oh, no, it's not a guess.
It's not a guess.
Oh, we know it's Gunner?
It's not a guess.
Oh, so we know it's Gunner.
It's not a guess. It's not a guess. But anyway.
Sometimes what's good for one is not good for all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if there's a sense of delirium that you may be experiencing.
Out, you hear a thud on the table.
Yeah, that's
I'm starting to get a little lightheaded.
Right,
I'm not going to lie here. This is not good.
But anyway,
I
lots
was in a good mood, too. To came in after to win, and it's freaking hot as Hades in here.
Well, they've done those psychological experiments where they put, like fighting couples in hot rooms, and they fight more.
I'm about to beat the crap out of both of you.
I know. I believe you. I believe you. Hey, I might fight back
Frustrated
today.
already.
How about that?
I'm too lightheaded to fight back. I'm going to go out quick.
Terry's already passed out.
I'm done.
So, anyway.
He's gone.
Where were we?
What are we talking about here,
It's
Jay?
Bruise Day. Ryan Brewer is in the house. Jalen's at Master Control, so we got a full boat here on this Tuesday. Obviously, no Shane Beamer today as the Gamecocks are off this weekend, so no Tuesday press conference previewing the weekend activity. So instead, with Ryan, we'll certainly look back on the win against Kentucky and what he believes this off week should do for us. I guess I better turn this on just so y'all can see Ryan and me sweating.
Yeah.
My God, I'm serious. I mean, I am sweating. It is so
the smell in this room's getting worse by every second.
It's
not good.
We're gonna have to say, I'm gonna have to make Gunner like 10 minutes before the handoff that we must turn the air conditioning on.
It's insane in here.
It's stupid hot.
And I never complain about
In fact,
this.
hey, Dave,
this is insane.
Dave, do me a favor, seriously. Will you come open the sliding door?
We need air. We need air.
I'm serious. It's ridiculously hot.
Yeah, open that up. Thank you.
Y'all thought y'all are hot. It is hot in here as well.
Yeah, so did Dave.
Dave just
No. We know where it is. We set it to 74 and it hasn't hit it yet.
Can we go back to locking that thing?
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Lock it from Gunner.
Yeah. This is. But anyway.
I'm getting a sunburn.
Shower again.
Yeah, I'm going to need to.
All right,
like
anyway.
Stupid me, I put on a long sleeve T-shirt thinking I'd be all right, and that was a mistake. How you doing, bro?
Anyway,
I was doing awesome.
Yeah,
but no, I still am. It says a lot more fun to come in here after a W. That's for sure.
Yes, it's well, you know what we noticed yesterday? After losses, the phones are like twice as big.
They're on fire. Yeah,
people like to complain.
Twice as big.
They do. They like to complain.
But we had a few yesterday.
And I think that was the fire that built this team to go out there and play with the energy they had. At least, that's kind of what coaches said. We got to go out there and prove the
haters,
naysayers, the haters wrong, right?
The
haters.
Right. The haters.
Yeah. He did say there was a lot of negativity, and I suppose there is. How much of it was created by the team itself and the admission of the things they had to do could be a topic of discussion relative to just they're not any good. And I think we talked about that. To be fair, in the Vandy and Missouri games, we had a Lenoris Sellers issue, right? In the sense that against Vandy, he gets hurt. And against Missouri, we're just not sure how hurt he still was. And that takes us always back to your philosophy of there's hurt and there's injured.
Right.
So he was hurt. But how much? And then Saturday, I said he was in full command again. So
we just don't know, and that's the thing, not being around it where he was mentally, physically, and what's going on, outside the whole football realm. But I believe that 3rd and 9, when he slid at 7.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I was ticked off. I mean, if you see the guy on the replay, he's going there and he's got a 200 maybe pound DB that he's going to truck the guy's eyes were, huge, like, a deer in the headlights.
He knows what's coming. He knows what's
I'm about
coming.
to get,
Right.
And then he slides, and this guy's like, yeah, I told you. Yeah, you had nothing to do with me. But so I was frustrated until I saw Lenoris's body language after that.
Yeah.
When he got up and put his hands on his face and was like, oh, no, kind of like, I can't believe I just did that. I think that was a wake-up call to him.
Yeah.
He woke himself up with that going, I don't want to go through this crap again because last year I did this and everyone gave me hell about it. And after that, he became, he may have got a couple buttons done in the booth and the glasses came off and then we did that slide. He put the buttons back on and he was getting very close. And all of a sudden he's like, know what? No, I took the shirt off. He hasn't quite kicked the door open yet to what he was doing last year, but it's creaked open. He's coming out. He's coming out of that phone booth.
You know what's funny when you brought up that play? Because we didn't talk about that play yesterday. The whole crowd went, ugh. Like the stadium went, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think he did the same thing. He's like,
yeah, I was like, whoa, because it was like 2 yards short, and you're going, whoa.
Well, he just broke out of it, and we're like, oh, here we go. And I mean, I thought he was about to murder the guy.
Well, you're right. He's got 40 pounds on this cat. This guy's thinking about, does his family have life insurance for him? What kind of, is it going to be, the ambulance going to come on the field to get him, or can they take him off? And all of a sudden, Lenoris just slides.
Yeah, and that was one of those plays, and again, the confidence killer, not just to us, but like if you